To date, there have been 36 hours of the Glen run. Those races have created heroes and legendary tales. And today, Grandam gets to add to that wonderful book about Watkins Glen. It's round 8 of the 13-round Rolex Sports Car Series. This is the Sahlen's 6 Hours of the Glen. It is a gorgeous day here in the Finger Lakes region of upstate New York, and with that in mind, we would like to say that our thoughts are with you for those affected by the extreme weather that has just savaged this country of late. Hopefully today we can give you some light entertainment and some enjoyment. Hi folks, Lee Diffie with Dorsey Schrader, Calvin Fish here at the legendary Watkins Glen. It's always a pleasure to say those words, isn't it? It's just terrific to be here. Yes, this is the Sahlen 6 Hours of Glen. Yes, it is another round of the Rolex Sports Car Series, but we've got a championship within a championship. This is also round 2 of the North American Endurance Championship. We'll tell you all about it. There's $100,000 on the line. It's worthwhile fighting for, Cal, but to do it, keeping in mind the recent workload, these guys are going to have to draw on all their energy reserves, aren't they?
Lee, this is a really important race here today, and it comes on the back of an incredibly intense month. 4 races in 29 days, and the beat goes on from here. A lot of these teams head over to Indianapolis for a 2-day test next week in preparation for that final round of the North American Endurance Championship at the end of July. But think about this, the drivers go home between races. These crew members, some of them will be on the road for some 40 days. It is an incredible grind this month.
In this racetrack, guys, I mean, it's not just the history. Watkins Glen is an awesome permanent facility. High speed, long straightaways, high, long corners. Now, there's a price to pay for all that, and that is it's driver fatigue. There's a lot of G-forces pulled here, and also it's tough on the equipment, and this is a 6-hour event.
There is so much to talk about. We encourage you to join the conversation via Twitter. Hey, Dorsey's been even known to put some of his recipes up there. There's good things, there's good topics of discussions, and it's hashtag GA on speed. For now, though, we've got to bring you up to speed with the storylines in Daytona Prototypes. Based on its win at the 50th running of the Rolex 24, Mike Shank Racing's number 60 Ford Riley leads the North American Endurance point standings. Since then, it's been tough going for John Pugh and Oz Negri, where they haven't received much respect from their fellow competitors and have been pushed around. But at Road America, our most recent race, they fought back hard, much to the dismay of Action Express driver Joao Barbosa.
Speaking of Road America, that's where the number 01 Ganassi team finally broke their 9-race winless streak, with Scott Pruitt holding off Ryan Dial in the number 8 Starworks entry, enabling Scott and teammate Memo Rojas to increase their lead in the regular season point standings.
But it was somewhat of a gift as late race leader Ricky Taylor lost control of the number 10 SunTrust machine under caution while warming his tires for the restart. SunTrust is hoping for better things this weekend as they come to Watkins Glen, having swept both the endurance and sprint races here last year.
Speaking of Ricky Taylor, the 22-year-old talent writes a regular blog on speed.com. This is an excerpt from his most recent blog, post Road America. In my mind, when I make a mistake, that is my allotment for the year, and I cannot make another one. Now I've made 2 very costly mistakes so far, so for the rest of the year, I need to be perfect. Brian Till, you're a racer. You've raced at the Indy 500. You know what it's all about. He's setting himself a pretty lofty goal, isn't he?
Well, anytime a driver says he needs to be perfect, that is a huge goal. Wayne Taylor, you and I both know racing is an imperfect sport. And when Ricky says, I need to be perfect, I can't afford to make another mistake, is he putting too much pressure on himself, being unrealistic?
Well, you know, that's Ricky. I mean, he's put himself under pressure from the beginning. And, you know, this incident really weighed on him heavily. And it's been a pretty tough week. But, you know, at the end of the day, I knew that once he got back into the car, he'd be okay. I know he's saying he's got to be perfect. Obviously, that's going to be in the back of his head. But I said at the end of the day, things happen in racing. He knows what he's got to do today, and he's going to be okay.
He's going to put his head down and go. Now, last year here, it was all celebrations for the SunTrust team. Ricky Taylor, Max Angelelli, Wayne Taylor celebrating the victory here. The last 3 rounds of the 2012 season, not nearly as happy. From SunTrust Racing to a team fighting to keep the respect that they earned with a win at the Rolex 24. Let's go to Jamie Howe.
Well, it was Michael Shank Racing who got that win at the Rolex 24, and they've had a lot of other highs this season with 3 podiums, but they've also had some bad luck. So Michael Shank, coming into the race today, you're carrying the momentum of a podium at Road America. You're carrying the points lead in the North American Endurance Championship, but tempers are high. We saw that at Road America. How bad do you want this $100,000?
Well, to put it this way, we just had a 90-mile-an-hour windstorm come through my hometown in Buckeye Lake, Ohio, and I lost half my roof, so I need a new roof. So I need the $100,000 real bad right now.
As we know that a lot of teams want that $100,000, Shank is relying on the consistency of their 2 regular drivers, Oz Negri and John Pugh, but other teams, Brian Taylor, adding an extra shoe.
Well, when you talk about respect in Mike Shank Racing, there's a driver in the paddock that certainly garners plenty of respect. That's Sebastian Bourdais, 4-time IndyCar champion, Formula One driver, sports car driver. But Sebastian, this is kind of a different role for you. It's a car, a Daytona prototype. I think this is only your 4th race in one, a racetrack you've never been to. More of a supporting role. What's your focus on trying to help this team win this championship?
Trying not to mess it up. No, just, I got the phone call from Peter on Monday night, and I said, yeah, sure. I didn't know the track, and it was good to be here and come and help. Ryan's a cool guy, and I discovered Enzo as well, and, it's a cool group. So we're just going to try and have a flawless race, just make sure we don't make a mistake, and see where we end up.
And he's having fun, and as you would expect, Sebastian Bourdais, Seabass as he's known, very fast this weekend in this Daytona prototype, Lee.
Yeah, Brian, he's slotted into that car just beautifully. So that's DP's out of the way, folks. When we come back from the break, we'll talk GT. But first, a look back at some of the previous years' Sahlen 6 Hours of the Glen. To win this race, you've got to have the muscle, but you've also got to have the legs to get to the end. As you can see, we're in the Finger Lakes region of upstate New York. What a beautiful place to be on a day to go motor racing. Dorsey, this is one of the most legendary circuits in all of the country, all of North America, if not the world. Let's have a closer look.
One of my favorites for sure. You can mention this 3.5 miles, just short of it. Anyway, 3.4, 11 turns. Most of them are named. You go up through those S's flat out down that long back straightaway. You really get jostled through the inner loop. It pounds you. Then all the way down the hill through turn 5. A lot of G-forces there through the boots. And then back towards start-finish line. This is a very wide, good racy racetrack. High speed. Don't make a mistake here. It's costly.
We've told you all about DP, Daytona prototypes. Let's bring you up to pace with GT. On the strength of their superb victory at the Rolex 24, John Potter and Andy Lally, drivers of the Magnus Racing Porsche, lead the North American Endurance Championship points and are joined by factory driver Pat Long. But they're coming off a costly non-finish at Road America, their first of the season.
Another Porsche team hoping for a reversal in fortune is Kevin Buckler's TRG effort. The cut tyre suffered when contacted by the number 51 Audi, caused Steve Bertho to slam the wall hard. It took a while for rescue workers to get him out of the car, but Steve was okay but will miss this weekend's race. He and co-driver Spencer Pompelli won the 2-hour sprint race here last year.
The new Ferrari 458, driven by Emil Asentado and Jeff Siegel, won at Road America. The 3rd victory for the season. That's the most of anybody in the Grand Am Series. They lead the regular series points, but they're only tied for 6th in the North American Endurance Championship.
The famous 59 Brumont's Porsche has to feel good coming to the Glen. They won last year's 6 Hours of the Glen, coming to this year's event 2nd in the North American Endurance Championship points.
Last year at the 6 Hours here at Watkins Glen, it was Ricky Taylor and Jordan Taylor on the poles in their respective classes. And this year, Jordan Taylor does it again in GT. He took his Camaro to the point with a great lap around this Watkins Glen circuit. But if you're a fan of the Rolex Sports Car Series, you'll notice that Jordan Taylor in the 75 from Stevenson Motorsports. It's a Camaro, yes, but not the 88 Auto House entry you're used to seeing him in. That team not here this weekend, and the word is we're not sure if we'll see him again for the rest of the season. So for right now, Jordan Taylor behind the wheel of the 75. Camaros have been strong all year long, but there's another team and another manufacturer in the series who's really showing some newfound strength this weekend, Jamie.
Yes, Brian, it's been a challenging start to Grand Am GT competition for the Audi R8. Brad Kettler, you've been involved since the beginning. You guys have made some big strides this weekend, extra Audi specialists on board. How important is it to start getting some results?
Well, I mean, we're very focused on the performance level of the car, and we've had a lot of cooperation with our colleagues at Quattro and Audi Sport in Germany. and they came over to staff the second car along with the guys from APR. It's been a really good experience. We've shared a lot, we've learned a lot, and we're trying to work some of the bugs out of this car and get it where it needs to be. It's a fantastic race car. It's got a couple fundamental things that we need to make a little bit better. But this weekend, the effort that's gone into this is going to go a long way towards that.
But certainly showing big improvements. Mark Basson qualified the car second. He'll share that car today with Frank Stippler.
It's going to be a car to watch too, that 52. Let's congratulate our respective pole sitters. For the Master, the 4-time champ Scott Pruitt. It's his first pole in 2 years. So congratulations to Scott. 34th pole for Ganassi as a team in Grand Am. And as Brian mentioned earlier, for the 21-year-old Jordan Taylor, that is back-to-back poles here at Watkins Glen. It's the 6th of his Rolex Series career. Time to roll in the Subaru starting grid at the top of your screen, and we're pleased to show you a nice range of onboard cameras. The pole sitting 01 will carry one, and we'll watch Scott Pruitt and Memo Rojas at work. And there they are. We've also got the 90 Spirit of Daytona Corvette. Boy, they've shown what the Spirit of Daytona is all about this year. A couple of victories. But now we've got to turn our attention to the Continental Tire keys to the race. Remember, it's a championship within a championship. You'll hear us talk a lot about the North American Endurance Championship today within the Rolex Sports Car Series.
Blistering heat. It's not as hot here, fortunately, as you're experiencing in other areas of the country, but it is still very hot in those cockpits. It's going to be very hard for those tires around this torturous racetrack, as Dorsey mentioned. And also fatigue. We talked about it. The crews have been on the road for a long time. They have to eliminate mistakes on pit lane today.
Dorsey, they're the Continental Tire keys to the race. What's Dorsey Schrader's key to the race?
I tell you what, perseverance here today. They're going to have to work with each other to 2 classes, and they're not going to bang each other up. Tire degradation is always a big problem here, and the heat's going to compound that problem. Really have to take care of your tires here today.
Cal, what about this? We've got a 6-hour race ahead of us. We've got rather high ambient temperatures, which lead to high track temperatures. There's a lot of temperature in the paddock. A lot of these drivers are pretty antsy and angry with each other. You've got to employ some patience, don't you, as we see the C-130 come over from the Niagara Falls Air Force Base, the 194th Airlift Squadron. Thank you very much for that.
You have to put those emotions to one side. This is a very pivotal race in the championship. It's also the second round of the North American Endurance Championship. You can't afford to get too feisty early.
All right, the Mazda CX-5 pace car will exit the circuit, and we are going to go racing. It's round 8 of the Grand Am Rolex Sports Car Series. It's the Sahlen 6 Hours of the Glen, a famed event at a legendary circuit, and what a day to get things going. It's been a heavy workload in the series. It's going to be a big workload today. Let's go racing in upstate New York. The 6 Hours of the Glen is underway.
Look at Garcia. He thought he should have had the pole. He should have stayed out for one more lap. He got pipped by Scott Pruitt. He slots into second.
Donahue goes around the outside. GT class start. It's Jordan Taylor looking good. Emil Asentato is coming under pressure in that Ferrari. Big time from Robin Liddell.
Well, what a start for Asentato from 30s immediately up to second around Stippler in the Audi.
Jonathan Bomarito in the Mazda, guys, had a great 3-wide start to the outside, made some positions.
Let's say well done, all drivers. No silliness in turn 1. Good, clean start. Dorse.
Absolutely. I wish you wouldn't have said that, because we're going to the inner loop right now.
It's a key section. It's a signature section of this Watkins Glen circuit.
We've renamed this next part of the racetrack the chute down from the inner loop down to the boot, Dorsey. We're calling it the sock.
I like the sock, because we've had a lot of sock and backing going on there. And you take a look right here, that's the lead GT. These guys caught up with the back end of the prototypes pretty quickly.
And look at this, Robin Liddell wants to make it a Stevenson Motorsports 1-2 up on the inside of that Ferrari. It's been frustrating him, just to be honest. Robin Liddell has not enjoyed seeing this Ferrari do what it's done this year. He's going to do everything in his power to stop Emil Asentato and Jeff Siegel.
Absolutely. He has been very outspoken about the pace of that Ferrari. He feels it should be pegged back a little bit, and there's a lot of consternation in that GT paddock about the speed of that car. But right now, Stevenson run 1-2.
And I like the Camaros on this racetrack, guys, because of the configuration, the elevation change here. There are a lot of hills to climb in that Chevy Viedo. Definitely have it. Take a look right there, Max Axe making a move.
Did we say employ some patience?
Well, he's dropped back a little bit. He qualified 4th. He wasn't happy with that. He's not going to be happy with his first lap either.
So, Angelelli trying to keep it in between the lines. That 10 SunTrust team needs to rebound and get a result. Let's talk more about GT. Here's Brian.
Robin Liddell has been frustrated, but Mike Johnson frustrated with this racetrack. He said, we feel like this track owes us one. We've led here and had mechanical problems, tire problems. We need a good finish here, so the frustration, they got to put it behind and focus on keeping the tires underneath this Camaro if they want to see the checkered flag.
I tell you what, think about Rob Liddell. He's really established himself as the team leader at Stevenson. He will not be happy about Jordan Taylor coming into his camp and putting his car on the pole.
Not at all.
You know what, I hadn't thought about that until right now when you brought it up. And you're right, Robin is a very competitive guy, no doubt about it. And to bring Jordan over, that just puts a lot of heat, and you got to be wondering as a driver what's going on.
We've got a couple of American muscle cars leading the way in GT from some European entries. Here we go, the Ferrari 458 Italia, built specifically to Grand Am specifications, just like the Audi R8 behind it. You got a former Porsche Super Cup champion in the 52 in Frank Stippler, his very first Grand Am Rolex Series race, first time to the Glen. He's running fourth behind Asentato.
He has so much experience. He's been with the Audi Quattro group since 2003 as a development driver, and that Audi has been developed since the last round at Road America. Has been allowed to move that rear wing back, Dorsey. That puts more leverage on the rear end of the car and gives it more grip and stability.
Yeah, it gives mechanical grip. I got to tell you guys, short of everything else, look at these cars, and they look cool. They're neat looking race cars.
First Porsche is that yellow and green Fometics machine with Austrian Martin Raginger behind the wheel. Here comes Stippler on the inside of Asentato. Can't do it, and while these guys fight out in their exotic sports cars, they are letting the Camaros run away.
And we have to say, like the Ferrari running with a Pro-Am gentleman driver and Emil Asentato up in the third spot with pro guys around him, we can't undermine the great job that Emil has done. He's really found a good home in this Ferrari. He's got a great balance to it. It is a fast race car, but Emil has really performed incredibly well this year.
Back to the Camaro for a minute. You know, I told you because of the elevation change here, the climbing of the hills, I like that car, but I also have to say that tires are going to be a key issue in this GT series right now, and the Camaro's got to really, really baby that rear tires combination.
It is close up front in Daytona prototypes, just 0.2 of a second between Scott Pruitt and Antonio Garcia. This blue Corvette, the Spirit of Daytona machine that we now ride with, has gone for a 3-driver strategy. Some teams like it, some teams don't. Some teams feel that it disrupts the flow and the rhythm, Cal, too much, but they have brought in fellow Chevrolet Works driver in Oliver Gavin. We saw Ollie last time out in the Rolex Series at the Rolex 24, so we're going to see 3 different drivers in this car today.
Well, the important thing, they're 3 different drivers, but they all have the same speed. They're very, very quick, and that is really the critical factor. If you bring a new guy in, you don't want him to be a detriment in terms of lap time. They have 3 guys that can run the same pace. They said it's going to be hot today. They feel it's the way to go.
So they're just pacing themselves nicely at the beginning of this one, but Garcia's a fighter. He's not going to let Pruitt get away. Keep in mind, Pruitt and Rojas have won 3 out of the last 4 here at the Sahlen 6 Hours of the Glen. Settle in, get comfortable, and stay cool. Remember, we told you about the North American Endurance Championship. It's round 2 of 3. Rolex 24 at Daytona, Sahlen 6 Hours of the Glen, and then Super Weekend at the Brickyard when we're heading there later this month. They're the 3 rounds that make it up, and Mike Shank Racing, courtesy of his Rolex 24 win, leads the way in DP.
There we see the GT standings after the Rolex 24-hour race. Obviously, the winners there, Magnus Racing, had a big win, but the points are tight, and there are points awarded at the 3-hour mark today, 10 if you are leading, and then a further 10 points if you win this race, so a lot on the table today to be gained.
Dorsey, I want to show you a replay of the start, and I'd be keen to get your evaluation as we take a look at the Daytona prototypes and in the background at the GT cars as well, because we've got an interesting onboard looking up as it was nice and clean for the Daytona prototypes.
One of the coolest things about Watkins Glen is this turn 1. We'll take an onboard run from the Ferrari, the 69.
Look at left. Look at the Audi of Frank Stippler.
He had to lock it up for a minute as Jordan. It looks like he's really not going to give him any run up the inside there, on the outside, should say. This turn 1 combination on a start's great. And restarts too. You can get down here about 4 wide and get the car slowed down because it's a very wide corner. Here's a good look at it from on board. Watch how wide it is once you get down here to the apex. This is all good, but you need to get it sorted out by the time you start up through the S's. As you see, they're all trying to do that.
Yeah, it really funnels in right here. So you've got some runoff room there on turn 1, and that's really great now because there's no gravel trap there, and it allows the, you know, caution-free, not caution-free, but there's less cautions likely because of that runoff area, which has really been a great improvement here at the Glen over the last few years.
On that replay, you may have noticed one of 3 TRG Porsches, and it was the 64 car. Driving that car, former F1 and IndyCar star Eliseo Salazar is back in the championship. We saw him last time out with some of his friends at the Rolex 24. Bringing you up to speed here, and nothing has changed up front. You haven't missed a thing. Pruitt's edged out a couple more tenths of a second over Antonio Garcia, but nothing urgent. But these are very promising signs for this Riley chassis BMW Power Telmex-sponsored Ganassi car.
I think for the rest of the DP paddock, they may be saying, uh-oh, here we go again, because, I mean, the 01 team came out at the beginning of this year with the new Gen 3 Riley, and they struggled to really come to grips with it. Very rarely have we seen in the last few years, they have been a dominant team that rolls off the truck with a fast race car. They haven't done that this year. They've really had to learn the ropes with this new car. They're now getting it dialed in, and they are executing as they always do. They have the championship lead. It is very rare that they make mistakes and let guys get back to them.
And they went to the lead of the championship, they being Ganassi, before they had won a race. That was an ominous sign right then and there. It is a Stevenson 1-2. It's only the second time this year we've seen this car, and the reason why is they're going for the North American Endurance Championship in GT. This is Jordan Taylor, along with Ronnie Bremer and Matt Bell, the trio piloting the 75. Let's find out more about Stevenson. Let's hear from their team manager.
Mike Johnson calling the shots down here at Stevenson Motorsports. Going to have to, he's looking at his computer for a second, but Mike, the guys up top talking about the pace that both the 57 and the 75 have. Impressive running right now. But the question was, do they need to be going as fast as they're going, considering the heat and the tire wear that you guys are concerned about?
You know, to be honest, we really haven't had a tire wear problem. We've had failures, and the failures have happened early and they've happened late. So, you know, right now we're behind the 69 in points, and we got to race them. So we're going to push as hard as we can. If a tire fails, and we'll deal with it. But right now we're going at it.
Stevenson Motorsport holding nothing back on either of the bullets that they have in their gun right now, guys.
Hey, there's been some action in GT. Let's show you a replay of what just happened a few moments ago between the AF Waltrip Ferrari and the Dempsey Racing Mazda. You're riding on board here with Tom Long, Rui Aguirre in the 56. Whoa!
They're at this stage of the race in the first hour that you would want to let him go. You can't afford to have damage. I mean, you cut down a tire around this place, it's a long lap, you're going to lose a lot of time. You don't want to be damaging a race car. Tom had a pretty good run on him, got his nose down to the inside, and Rui just turned in.
Yeah, you just can't be spending time in the pits fixing body work and things like that on an endurance platform. I mean, it takes too much time, and the cars are too close on the racetrack, as you can see right here.
Neil Asentato in that Ferrari, the FXDD Ferrari still holding off Frank Stippler in that Audi R8. One thing that's changed there is the Speed Source Master, Jonathan Bomarito, has caught the back of those guys. And who's right behind Jonathan Bomarito? Dane Cameron has made up about 4 or 5 positions in the last 3 laps. That 42 Sahlen's Mazda has been flying.
It's been flying all weekend long. He is very disappointed after qualifying. He had the rear sway bar break on his outlap during qualifying. He said it just destroyed the balance in the race car. In the warm-up this morning, he said he was very happy with it. He said, we've got a car we can go to the front with. And this is a team that's been knocking on the door for their first victory this year. Just keep coming up a little bit shy, but they are competitive week in, week out. They've got a great car underneath them and 2 really strong drivers in Dane and Wayne Nonamaker.
And right behind them, no stranger to Watkins Glen, both on road race courses and in NASCAR as well, as Boris said, is in the Wheeling Corvette. He is actually tagged on the back end of this train. Don't count him out. He's got a lot of laps here.
Well, good to have Boris back, because he wasn't with the Rolex Series last week at Road America. He was competing in the NASCAR Sprint Cup out at Infineon Raceway Sonoma, which of course he does each and every year. And these guys, being Marsh Racing and the Wheeling Corvette, they have had more than their fair share of bad luck this year. They've had seatbelt problems, they've had mechanical issues. They had a really good run at the end of Road America. Eric Curran racing with Robin Liddell, but they kind of owed a good result to us.
Remember last year here, a huge crash with Joey Logano as he got it wrong in the old turn 5 downhill.
This is a shake-up. Joao Barbosa's got through to second, almost took the lead there.
So the Portuguese driver, who was furious last week with Oswaldo Negri after contact in the closing laps on the front straight at Road America, he's turning it up here in the Action Express Corvette number 9. Remember, this is only the 3rd race for that revised driver lineup. His new teammate is Darren Law. Let's show you how he did it.
Traffic, that's the ESM Ferrari. They come up through the S's there. That delayed both Pruitt and Garcia. You say Pruitt defended the inside. Let's watch Wow. Woo, right there.
Yeah, Garcia lifted right there for a moment. That's all it took.
Show you a different angle.
Remember, Joao Barbosa is not in the thick of this championship in terms of points. He's just going for wins at this stage of the game, and the door was open and he took it.
I see why he lifted there. There was a car inside.
He's one of those guys in the middle of, there's a little bit of ill feeling between some of the peers, and certainly Joao is one of those guys. He has not appreciated being roughed up after coming off that brilliant win at Detroit. Talking about teams that are owed something, you could certainly say that about the 99 Gainsco Bob Stallings team.
Yes, Gainsco certainly had a challenging season. Alex Gurney, the most DNFs you guys had ever had in a year was 2. After Road America, you've now had 3 so far this season. What does the team need to turn around?
Well, I mean, I think I heard most of your question. Obviously, we need a trouble-free race. It's been a difficult weekend, although we've been quick at times, playing around with a lot of different aero configurations to make sure we can get up that long straightaway. Right now, everything's going fine. You know, we're at the back of the field, but you know, long race and a lot of things to play out on strategy and pit stops. So we feel like we're in good shape at the moment.
Certainly a track Gainsco has had success at. They're looking for that to turn around this weekend.
And the Gurney history runs deep here at Watkins Glen. The very first time the Glen hosted a Formula One Grand Prix, 1961. Alex's dad, Dan. Isn't that nice to say for a change? Alex's dad, Dan, instead of Dan's son, Alex, finished second in a Porsche to Innis Island. And we've got lots of wonderful historic highlights and footage to show you throughout today's live coverage of the Sahlen 6 Hours of the Glen. Look forward to it. Now, we have had some things going on while we're in that last commercial break. Alex Popov, who made a dynamic start to this race, suffered a blown tyre, what we think, as he was headed back up the hill. Watch this. You're going to see a Dempsey car, not the 40, the 41 will run a little bit wide. Nothing to do with that. The Dempsey car just locks up. But watch further up the hill. Right there.
Yeah, Alex Popov had a brilliant start to this race, running in the 4th spot. Believe it was the right front that went down. They've also got some brake light issues they're trying to take care of. But earlier this weekend, Lucas Luhr in one of the initial practice sessions said that the power steering went heavy on him coming through that very same corner, Dorsey. Ran wide, tore off the right front, damaged the nose. They had to wait for a new nose to be flown in overnight. But the car, since it went back on the racetrack, has been very, very quick.
Watch this now. The team car is in. It looks like Mark Brookins is helping the driver.
Scott Mayer, get out.
He chucked the driver right out of there.
That's using the hands device, all right. I mean, get out of there.
Now, we are under a full course caution, and this is for the 2nd week in a row. This car has caught fire. This is the Magnus Racing Porsche. It caught fire towards the closing stages of the Road America race, and now it's done it again.
That was a blown engine at Road America where the oil in the tailpipe caught fire. This is not the same. As you can tell by the black smoke, this has caught the carbon fiber on fiber. It's hard to say.
John Potter is the team owner, the car owner.
Driver's out of the car. There's good news on this because that's burning pretty well.
Remember, this is the team that leads the North American Endurance Championship standings in GT. So this will not be good for them in that championship, and just puts them deeper into the hole in the overall standings for the season as well.
There's John walking away, which is a really encouraging sight. He's asking the fire marshals just to keep on working.
Yeah.
But they were really pumped up about this weekend. They have Porsche factory driver Patrick Long joining he and Andy Lally in a very solid, stout lineup, but it's not to be for the Magnus Racing boys today.
One of those times you don't want to be a team owner driver. Not only you're disappointed your car's out, it's your car that's on fire, Dawes.
Yeah, you do anything you can to get that thing put out right away because a lot of money sitting there.
While that is being taken care of, let's find out what's going on at Starworks with the number 2.
Well, the work continues down here. There is damage to the right side of the car, but the biggest repair has been to the brake lights in the back. By rules, they have to have them, so the crew going to work trying to get that taken care of. You guys were right, though. When he came in, not only damage to the right side of the car, but to the right front wheel. The wheel pretty significantly bent, and that's what caused the deflation on that Continental tire. So right now, Alex Popov, who did such a great job in qualifying, starting this #2 car from Star Works in the 5th position. A problem on the racetrack, and now a problem on pit road as well.
There you see the black nose. We talked about the bodywork having to be flown in on Thursday evening, so bit of a patchwork quilt on the car right now, but it was fast. I mean, they were really a dark horse for the win here today, because Lucas is typically a little bit quicker than Alex, and Alex was really strong in qualifying and in the opening stint of this race.
There's a nice view from the Mazda CX-5 pace car, looking at Scott Pruitt and that Telmex BMW Riley for Chip Ganassi Racing with Felix Sabates. Order is he and Barbosa, Garcia 3rd, Angelelli is 4th, David Donahue 5th, John Fogarty 6th, Enzo Potolicchio in the sister Star Works car. And then John Pugh and Brian Frizzell is back for Doran Racing in that Doran Dallara, which is great to have one of the Frizzell boys back.
You may be observing here cars passing. What's going on? We're under yellow. One of the procedures in the Grand Am Series is trying to keep all the classes together. Here we see one of the Ferraris going the other way around the train. They'll probably get a slap on the wrist because that can cause some aggravation for everyone involved. But typically when the pace car comes out, if the GT field is split between the overall leader, Scott Pruitt, they want to try and get those GT cars back together so you don't suddenly find yourself a lap down. And this is what that procedure does.
Speaking of GT, one of the most recent storylines is that fire to the 44 Magnus Porsche. Brian, tell us more.
I can tell you there's a lot of disappointment in the Magnus camp. Andy Lally standing here hoping to run a good 6-hour race. It seems to be over with very quickly. What was the report from John?
We've had so many good races here in the past, but there was a little smoke in the cockpit. He said he was going to try to do one more lap. The second to last radio transmission was, "I can't breathe," and then he said he was getting out, and then I watched it on TV with the rest of you guys. It looks like the cockpit filled up with a little smoke, and unfortunately our chances for a win are done for sure, but I don't know if we're going to get back out there or not. We didn't get that much communication in there. So
bitter disappointment, like I said, after winning at the Rolex 24. It's just not gone their way the last couple of events, guys.
Andy is a 3-time Sahlen 6 Hours of the Glen winner in GT. Of course, he was last year's NASCAR Sprint Cup Rookie of the Year. And what started out so promising in 2012 for Magnus, they continue that backward slide, unfortunately.
It was a bit awkward. John came off of the inner loop on the downhill run, and you could tell something was wrong. He got off to the outside of the racetrack, and he kind of just pulled off. And we didn't see much smoke until he sat there for a while, and then, of course, it went fully up. So obviously something inside or near the inside of that car was on fire, and, of course, it got so bad for him he had to get out.
We're approaching 29.5 minutes run in this race. 30 minutes is what you need to do for points, but when you get to this stage and there's a yellow, the race still will make the call that you are good for points if you decide to get that first driver out right now and he doesn't return to action. So we may see some of these guys pit. They're about halfway through a fuel load, but I'd be surprised if they give up this opportunity to top up with fuel.
We're riding on board with the Sahlen's Mazda. They are the naming rights sponsor of this race, have been for many years. I understand they have inked the deal to extend as the principal sponsor for another 3 years, which is great news. And also, the team, the professional women's soccer team that Joe Sahlen owns, the Western New York Flash, are the official Grand Marshals and starters for today's race. So thank you, Joe. Thank you to the ladies. Thank you to the Western New York Flash. And let's go to the team now, to another special lady in their organization.
That's Katie Crawford, who engineers the 42 car. Katie, we know there was disappointment after qualifying when you found out that that rear bar had broken. What's Dane saying about the car right now?
The car's great. It's been great all weekend. We've been dynamite fast, and that's why we were so disappointed. But you've seen him. He's gone from 12th to 5th. So we just got to keep trying. It's a long race and see if we can get there in the end.
How important is strategy going to be in the later stages of the race?
I think strategy is going to be very important. You know, there's a lot of really, really quick cars. We don't want to beat ourselves in the pits, but, you know, we're going to try.
Pit stops are happening now, Brian.
Stops indeed. Scott Pruitt in. It'll be tires and fuel only in the 90, the Spirit of Daytona Corvette right behind him. Ollie Gavin will take over the wheel.
The 99 and the 60 also took the opportunity to come in. They were doing fuel and tires. I believe the 60 also did the driver change. While Negri was out behind the wheel. It's a quick stop for the 99. They're already out, and the 60 is right behind him.
Good work from the Gainscote Bob Stallings boys. The 9 has leapfrogged the 01. So Barbosa, nice work there. Pruitt and then Fogarty. That's what the 99 needs. Let's get some positive momentum going in that team and and get it heading back in the right direction. They've won here at the Sahlen 6 Hours of the Glen. They're a two-time championship winning team. We'll see what the Red Dragon can do.
If you can see the back of the car.
A few moments ago, pit stops occurring for GT, and the top two in GT coming in. They just so happen to be in the same team. Let's see who wins this battle.
Well, remember, the 57 team are running full season, so these guys should be well versed in adding the second car. You have to wonder if that car will be as quick here in this initial start. So Jordan Taylor did a brilliant job there, leading from the pole position throughout this initial stint, but the two crews going up against it.
Remember, it wasn't that long ago that they ran two cars full time in GT, 2 years ago, in fact. There were mixed thoughts on what to do, and as you can see, the 57 leapfrogged the 75. But it's been a very strong opening stanza from the Stevenson Chevy Camaros. The Porsche Brigade, there's 7 of them here today. There'll be a very intense fight between those guys. Good work from Speed Source as well to get the number 70 Mazda out in front. As we come into this 8th round of the 13-round championship, the lead is 5. The Ganassi boys over the Star Wars combination. David Donahue all by himself there in 3rd. And John Pugh, Oz Negri and Darren Law not that far out of touch either.
Well, they've done it through consistency, 5 podiums, and finally get that win at Road America, and they're now hot firing on all cylinders, the 01 team. But the 8 squad, they keep hanging in there.
All the way down to the bottom, 38 points is not that much when you're talking about 35 points win.
Exactly, Dorse. And for another round, the FXDD Ferrari is on top, but the margin is far greater. Robin Liddell is still keeping a positive mindset. He feels he can still win this championship. It's going to be a lot harder than on the DP side of the fence.
It is. 21 points is a lot because the 69 team continues to execute week in, week out. 3 wins, 5 times on the podium. It has just been an amazing run for that team.
One driver that's sneaking up on it is Paul Dallalana in 4th. Remember, he is a Continental Tire Sports Car GS champion, and he and Billy Aublin have been like, they've been the silent assassins, if you will. They've just been sneaking up on the rest of the GT field over the last couple of rounds.
They have, because they had a disaster at Daytona. The car was not quick, but since that time, 6 top 5s, including a win at Mid-Ohio and a 2nd place run. Look at this damage, Dawes. What's going on with the pace car?
I said, look at the pace car. I just saw it too, Calvin, that somebody has hit the back of the pace car.
All right, fess up, you two. Did you ever do that?
Oh, you know what? No, I take it back. You know what that is? That's the inner fender well, and what's happened is the pace car has picked up a lot of rubber, and one of those big balls of rubber has blown the inside of it out.
Yeah. We are ready to go back to racing. First full course yellow is done.
Here we go.
Let's go, and it's the Action Express number 9 at the front, but look at Pruitt. Keen to duck out of that draft. He tries the inside line, can't do it. Look at the 10 SunTrust car.
Yeah, he repeats a move, really cut and paste from a move he did earlier in the race. Oh, there's some bodywork flying there. That may have been the 77 car, or is that the 10? No, that is the 10.
Left
Robert
side.
Vangelelli.
Yeah, I think they made contact, must have rubbed. That was left side bodywork towards the rear that came flying off.
How much of an impact will that have? Is that going to be part of our story today? Look at the left rear doors, left rear on the 10.
See it right here. It's taken off the fender. We'll take a look when he goes through the inner loop here.
Well, he rubbed on the 5 car down into turn 1. He did it a few laps ago under green, but the 9 car leapfrogged around the 01 in pit lane. They did not take tires, the 01 did.
We got wide right there.
That was a Shank car, I think. It could have been John Pugh. Don't know why, boys. I've got a funny feeling in my stomach today. We're going to see the 99 come back. And John Fogarty, the team did good work in the pits. They run 3rd. Full course caution.
Full course yellow. Full course yellow.
Wow, that didn't take long, did it?
And this is the reason why that belongs to Max Angelelli's SunTrust Corvette.
Does indeed.
Was that the inside move in turn 1, Cal?
Well, quite possibly. I mean, Angelelli really wedged it down on the inside. It was a good move, but a very aggressive move, as we come to expect from Max Angelelli. I'm not sure if that's like what they call a cheese wedge behind the rear wheel that's come adrift. We'll get a look at this shortly as he turns through this next corner, I think. You can see the left rear corner of the bodywork does seem to have something missing. There it is.
Yep, the whole cheese wedge is gone. You see, look at the other side. You can see kind of what's happened there. That's a big chunk to fly off at about 130 miles an hour.
There we see it. Pruitt looks to the inside. He doesn't have enough, but watch Angelelli there. The 5th car in line gets right down, and then there's a little bit of a rub right there. You can see the car jink as he and the 5 car of David Donahue get together. Here's another angle at it, Dawes.
See a better angle. Look here. Yeah, Max
Whoa.
got loose. Max actually got loose and the tail wagged, and it went over there and clipped Donahue. This should be a good view here.
You know who did a really good job at the back of this was Sebastian Bourdais, who took evasive action to miss that flying body part.
As when I checked with Wayne Taylor and the team earlier in the weekend and asked them about their strategy, they said nothing has changed. And we've sat both Ricky and Max down and said, you cannot change, you cannot pull back a little bit to try to make up for the mistakes that have been made these last 3 rounds. You've got to go out and do exactly what we've always done. We're going to charge, we're going to try to win races and get back in this championship. I think that's exactly what you saw right there. The Max of old trying to make a move. This time it just didn't work out, a little loose at the exit of the corner, and that contact that you saw.
I agree with you, Brian. I spoke to Simon Hodgson, team manager for SunTrust, about this very thing. I said you can't get too conservative. I mean, you're 25 points in the hole in the championship. You're not going to make those up by just getting podium finishes. You have to go for the win. He said, yeah, I think you're right. We have to be aggressive, stick to our normal game plan despite the disaster of the last month.
And remember, we have some drivers that are frustrated right now. They feel that as the year's gone on, they haven't got their due, and they're not going to give up. So, I mean, when the Max goes up in there like that, guys aren't giving you any quarter. I mean, everybody's really fighting hard now.
This is Oliver Gavin. This is Dane Cameron in the Sahlen's 42. You heard from Katie Crawford what a dynamic job, what a dynamic run he had, coming from back outside the top 10 after qualifying problems with the car. Really forced his way up through the field.
And Dane said the car is just magic at the moment. They rolled off the truck, exactly the same setup they had at Road America, and it was quick. He said, we've found the sweet spot. It's working really well. It's given us the confidence. He said, Wayne is allowing me now to do more setup work and believing that when he jumps in, remember, this is a new driver pairing for this year. He said he is confident if I like it, he will like it.
Oh, that you don't see repair on the pace car very often during the race, but somebody must have fixed it. Take a look. See how good these guys are.
Yeah, let's see the crew work. Who does it? Oh, it's a Grand Am crew member.
Identifies the problem.
A little trim piece actually around the fender well.
Fender flare, yeah.
Gives it a Mark Wilkins style yank.
Moving the race?
Yeah, move the race. It's all good now.
Work continues on the number 10 SunTrust Corvette down here at the Watkins Glen 6 hour. And the crew, a spectacular job to get the rear body parts back on. Damage to the left rear of Max Angelelli's Corvette. This crew working to get it done before the pace car comes back around. And they will have done it, it looks like. A couple of... Up, there's a hiccup. They're going to have to get the car back up in the air. Jack stands underneath it now. They can drop it. Angelelli underway. Exemplary work by the SunTrust team.
It's going to be tight, though. Angelelli's got to go down pit lane at 45 miles an hour. The field is coming to green.
Oh, boy. This is going to be interesting, watching the leaders chase Max the Axe. You're grateful of a long lap for that, but now this is going to be very interesting. He's going to be running for his life.
I hope the leaders know. I hope that guys are on the radio from the pits and say that Max is going to be coming out hot. And they're side by side through the apex here.
Ryan Frizzell there making a similar move that Max Angelelli did.
Whoa! The 10 car just chopped across the 7. Where did Max end up in that whole deal?
Alex Popov was very aggressive there on the sister Starworks car. He is a man in a hurry. And so too is Angelelli trying to stay on that lap.
Look at this, Fogarty looking pretty raced there. A nice clean pit stop of leapfrog their way up here into the top 3. Angelelli's got to get those Continental tires up to speed, up to temperature quickly. It was a brave call by Simon Hodgson and the crew to change that complete rear clip. It can so easily go wrong because this was a short yellow. The pace car was coming. They were under pressure but got the job done.
Boys, let's give a huge shout out for the 4th car in line, Mike Shank Racing. And what a job by John Pugh. See this guy here, Joao Barbosa, professional driver. 2nd place, Scott Pruitt, professional driver. 3rd place, John Fogarty, professional driver. John Pugh is a Pro-Am driver. He does not make his living from professional sports car driving, and he's hanging there with the big boys.
He does, and he really wants to compete with the big boys. There's been a lot of talk about the Pro-Am guys. Should they get a different tire? Should they be given other advantages? John Pugh has been one of those guys who's been outspoken in terms of, I want the same equipment as you see Barbosa there, slipping a little bit wide. Remember, he did not take tires. The guys behind him did. Pruitt looking for the lead.
Well, he was about to pounce on him right there. I'll tell you what, John Pugh works really hard on his off time out of the race car with Oz Negri. They coach each other, and they do go-karts, and they work hard to get better. no doubt about it, Pruitt is on a mission here too.
Well, John Pugh is about to feel pressure like the last hour of the Rolex 24 at Daytona when they won this year. He's got a 4-time Le Mans winner in Oliver Gavin right behind him.
Let's see how these cars stack up here. Remember, the BMW got 100 RPM going into the last round of the championship. The Ford's got 300. The Chevy guys were not happy about it. They said those guys were strong on the straightaways already. Let's see how they stack up. Chevy, BMW, Chevy, Ford.
Gavin is setting up a move on John Pugh into the inner loop. Look at the blue Corvette. Tucked out of the line, thought about it, Dorse, then tucked back in.
Yeah, these guys get a good draft running up that straightaway, and when you get into that inner loop, some of this is pulling out to get some air, because remember, it's a hot day, and the radiators need a little cold air in them too.
That white Riley with the blue stripes, the Ford behind this 90 car is Sebastian Bourdais. His very first race. It's kind of hard to believe, isn't it? First race at Watkins Glen, and he's in the mix.
That corner right back there, Calvin, we were looking at it yesterday, and I'm starting to see the same thing I did yesterday, which is that racetrack in that corner is starting to come up a little bit, or it's building rubber. They said it was rubber buildup last time, but it did, in fact, become a problem. I think before this day is over, it will again.
Yeah, had a really weird look to it yesterday's Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge race. Looked like it was coming apart, but the grip seemed to stay there. But every time a car ran through there, it was like tire tracks in the snow, almost gave it a grooved appearance. Here we see Gavin to the inside, looking for fourth spot on John Pugh, makes it stick.
Now Bourdais is going to be lining up for a shot. It's Ford-powered Riley on Ford-powered Riley. Watch car 8, watch car 60. Gavin's through and has already gapped John Pugh somewhat, but the race is on.
Remember, Ollie Gavin was initially slated to drive this night. Oh, problems here in the GT field. The 41 car gets turned around. Charles Espinal behind the wheel.
And he had done well. He had stayed out. He pitted some 7 laps before the front runners in GT. He assumed the lead of the race on that last yellow, and then he just got ganged up on by Robin Liddell, Sylvain Tremblay, and Jeff Siegel.
Getting back to the 90 car, Ollie Gavin driving this weekend. He's originally slated to drive the car for the year. Then they looked at his Corvette responsibilities with the Le Mans and the American Le Mans Series and said it's not going to work for points. So then Westy was drafted in. It's been a great move. He has 2 wins on the year, but they promised Ollie a drive here and at Indianapolis.
Let's show you what happened to Charles Espinal in the 41 Dempsey Racing Mazda. Look at the blue and yellow Mazda. Here comes the FXDD Ferrari on the inside. Is there going to be contact here?
That's our championship leader, Jeff Siegel. You don't normally see himself put himself in that sort of situation. That was a risky move, Dorsey.
It was.
And he got some damage, I think, on the left front corner of the Ferrari.
Watch him run up on the curb here once he realizes he's made a mistake, trying to make it not happen, and as a result, clips the 41, and Charles goes for the ride. But there was body parts flying, Calvin. Watch here.
On board here with Dane Cameron, you can see it's a little bit late move. You've got to read your competitor. Charles is known as one of the most aggressive GT drivers in the field. He's not going to give you a position easily. You've got to think about that championship. One of the rare mistakes I've seen Jeff make all season long.
All right, let's get down to the GT camp. What's going on at TRG, Jamie?
Well, in that number 67 Porsche, Spencer Pumpelly finds himself with 2 new co-drivers this weekend, Wolf Hensler, Al Carter. What update can you give us on Steve Berthoud following that wreck at Road America last week?
I think the biggest thing with Steve right now is he's really disappointed he's not here this weekend. He's 100% fine, feeling great. It's not cleared to race this weekend, unfortunately. All the guys here really miss him. Steve, you're back at home. We wish you were here and hope to see you here soon, but he's 100% okay and just a little disappointed, that's all.
One advantage that the Porsche has always had has been its reliability. How big of a factor will that be in the 6-hour race today?
It's going to be pretty big, but we've already seen one Porsche have an issue. This is such a tough race now. It's not really an endurance mentality anymore. We're 100% the whole time, so we've got the car to go the distance. We just need to work on the pace and make sure we're up to speed with some of the other faster cars. Wolf Hensler's here. He's always fast, and Al Carter stepped up this weekend. Did a fantastic job his first stint, so got the right crew here to do this. So we'll see in 6 hours where we'll be.
Good crew, good team, 3 strong cars. We'll see what happens.
And let's show you at home what happened a week ago at Road America to Steve Berthoud in the Adobe Road number 67 TRG Porsche.
Look up ahead there. Watch the Audi suddenly jink to the inside, gets right into it with Steve, rides up over the front, and then a little bit later in the lap, Dorsey, this happens.
Yeah, Steve loses a tire, deflates the tire in that high-speed kink and impacts the wall a ton. I mean, a really big accident right there. Didn't know it was coming.
To reiterate what Spencer Pumpelly said, Steve Bertho is okay. I spoke to Steve during this week. He said, as you would expect, a little bit of stiffness and soreness in my neck and back. And he said, I could drive. The doc told me I couldn't. And he said, besides which, I'm not sure I'd like to wedge myself into a car as bruised and as stiff and sore as I am. So I'm going to sit this one out.
I get that stiffness and sore when I get out of bed in the morning.
That could have something to do with the numerals before your name.
Guys just checked in at the 69 AIM FXDD with their Ferrari. That damage that you saw there after the contact, and Ian Willis says they think that it's just popped the bumper out in front, and they're hoping it's just an attachment or a clip that they can put back on, and that everything will be fine. They're going to keep some eyes on the water temperature. Car seems to be handling okay. We'll try to wait until the next stop to do any repairs to it. They don't want to have to bring him in off schedule.
Yeah, it was more of a side-to-side shot, and in fact, Jeff tried to get on the brakes and get out from under the situation. What it did, though, was put the left front fender of the Ferrari right into the right rear of the Mazda.
That running order in GT, it is back to being a Stevenson 1-2. Robin Liddell in the 57, Jordan Taylor in the 75, and Sylvain Tremblay is third. This car we ride with, Jeff Siegel, is coming under increasing pressure from Boris Said, who has that Wheelan Corvette in the top 5.
I think Innes pulled a little Dorsey move there on the trophy girl. A little lip lock.
He meant that, too.
Yeah.
He must have really liked that, Rick.
That wasn't a peck on
Look
the
at this,
cheek, was it?
guys. Ferrari versus Mazda, and they're bumping and banging. That's Michael Walken's Ferrari off to the right.
Yeah, Rui Agua's driving that car door, so it's not for position. Rui's being
Watch
pretty
here.
aggressive, considering.
It's not over with yet. Here comes the Ferrari back. Want some of this?
You want some of me?
That's the car that Brian Vickers, well, not the car, but that's the team that Brian Vickers shared the drive with at the 24 Hours of Le Mans.
Good shot of the track right there, Calvin, and we're starting to see the same thing we saw yesterday. I think that corner is going to be, before the end of the day, is going to be a real skating rink.
Really bizarre visual when you look at it. You think, oh my God, it's coming apart. The guy's going to be slipping and sliding. They just get through there at normal speed. So no reports from the drivers that it's really affecting performance through there. I tell you what, this is a great stint by Joao Barbosa. I mean, on tires that have now got a ton of laps on them, 28 laps on these Continental tires since the start of this race, and he's still running very competitive lap times. I think what's happening here is that Timmy King's probably told Scott Pruitt that just go into like fuel conservation mode a little bit here. Think about this. We talked about 2 races in one. They're not only back timing to the end of 6 hours in this race, but also to the 3-hour mark, Dorsey, because of those points that are on the table for the North American Endurance Championship.
Here's what I'm seeing, guys. We're 1 hour into a 6-hour race, and look to the outside of every one of these corners, and what you'll see is lots of big chunks of rubber. And you see right there in the straightaway even where it's been dispelled off the tire. But more so in the corners, I'm seeing a lot of massive rubber, which can be a problem as this thing goes. Like I say, 1 hour out of 6 done.
You're looking at a great drive here by John Pugh, one of the 4 drivers that won the Rolex 24 at Daytona. Another one is sitting by with our Jamie Howe.
Yes, it's Oz Negri, who has one of the best seats in the house, sitting here relaxed in pit lane. But your co-driver, John Pugh, he's having a great run out there. I know he's been working hard. How impressed have you been with his efforts this weekend?
John's been amazing. You know, his qualifying performance yesterday was outstanding. We have a good car. We worked pretty hard after Road America, and we do have a very quick car. So, you know, John is doing his best, and I'm very proud of him. Just you know, being ahead of pro drivers like Bourdais and the rest of the gang. It's a huge accomplishment for him. He could not do it without the help of our MSR team. I mean, our crew has been working very hard to put us where we should be, which is up the front.
We know the competition in DP Racing is really tight. Last weekend at Road America, we saw you in a little bit of a scuffle with Joao Barbosa. What happened from your seat?
I had a run on him coming out of the last corner, and I felt that he shut the door. I was hoping he wouldn't come over some more, but you know, when I realized we touched. It was definitely not intentional. I felt pretty bad about it, to be honest. You know, I talked to Gary Nelson, Elton Sawyer, and I called Joao after the race, just to make sure that they knew that I will never do that intentionally.
Just one of those racing incidents. Keep relaxing. You're up next.
And I asked his team owner, Mike Shank, about that. I said, what's your take on what happened with Oz and Joao? And he said, my drivers know it's very simple. When it's near the end of the race like that, you never lift. Yes, both drivers could have yielded. Both drivers could have taken alternative action, but we're in it to win it.
I heard a funny story, too, as they were talking to each other on the phone. Joao brought up at one point in time, he says, yeah, well, but there's another pedal in there other than the gas. And he goes, well, you just answered your own question. If I got a break in the straightaway, somebody's blocking.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those moves. You're allowed to position the car to defend. I think Joao made the move a little bit too late. Oz had a run, and as Mike Shank said, we're not going to lift off with 1 lap to go. So they were going for it. It's unfortunate that cars get turned around. That amount of damage is really hard this month. We've talked about the toll and the strain on these teams. When you start wrecking race cars in between races, other than just the usual prep, that is really a heavy workload.
It did, Dorset didn't just affect the team and the car, it affected Darren Law and his championship run, right, Brian?
That's exactly right, Lee. You know, when Darren Law and Joao Barbosa had their first date at Detroit, it worked out pretty good for you, didn't it, Darren? You guys, the first time together, you had that victory, but when you saw that incident at Road America and you know your championships ride with Joao Barbosa, what was your thought about the incident?
It was Road America was tough for us. You know, we've had a great start since we switched cars, and Action Express has done a great job this weekend prepping the car. It's fast, we're really competitive, so you know it's a matter of staying out of trouble and clawing back into the championship here.
Right now, Joao seems to have a very good car underneath them. Used tires on it. I don't think you guys changed tires on that last stop. So the balance, you've got to be impressed with the Corvette right now.
Actually, we're really happy with the Corvette. We did it through practice. We ran 1 set of tires for more than a double stint. And as far as setup, you know, it's I don't know if everybody else is the same, but we're able to run quite a while on a set of tires, and it's super consistent. So we're happy with everything right now.
Well, these teams running that Continental tire that they'll run at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and every team up and down the paddock in the Daytona prototype category says, man, these new Contis for Indy, they last.
I'll tell you what, hats off to Continental Tire. I mean, Joao Barbosa just ran his fastest lap of his race, a 1:43.2 on the 31st lap. That is amazing stuff.
I asked Gary Neal at Starworks yesterday, how are you going tire-wise on your long runs? He said, are you ready? I said, yeah. He said, we could double stint. He said, we did a 50-lap run.
That is amazing. This racetrack, again, I say it all the time, is one of the toughest racetracks anywhere on tire wear and on tire heat. It's just the elevation change you got to go contend with really pushes the tire into the asphalt quite hard. So that's amazing, a double stint here.
Good scrap going on here between Martin Ragginger and the Fermetics Porsche for Burton Racing as he goes around the 51 of Ian Bass. Ian is back in that number 51 R8 for the first time since the Rolex 24. He's happy about that. Rui Agua has been Mr. Entertainment in this race. Look at that AF Waltrip Ferrari.
Wow, 2 Ferraris, and it's double expensive, isn't it?
Yeah, they're really expensive race cars to start banging fenders like that. But Guy Cosmo, what a job he did at Detroit with the pole position, led the first stint there. They had some aggravation on their first pit stop, but they have proven that this Ferrari is very, very quick, looking for better things here today. Mike Hedlund qualified the 03 car. Johannes van Overbeek will also join that squad today.
Hey folks, make a note of this. We're just over the 1 hour mark, and I want to draw attention to the number 10 SunTrust car. It is 1 minute 38 behind our race leader that we're looking at here, Joao Barbosa. Just remember that, 1.5 minutes behind just after the 1 hour mark. We'll see how this shakes out at the very end. Can they make that up? Can they put their worries behind them? Can they turn this championship around? It's not impossible.
Well, he also set the fastest lap of the race, Lee, 42.7, so Angelelli is charging hard. They need a yellow, though, to get back in the game.
Had a little bit of everything already, and we are in such early stages of the Sahlen's 6 hours of the Glen. That's what it looks like if you're a GT driver in your own fight. You got to deal with the faster Daytona prototypes. Back live here at the Sahlen 6 hours of the Glen. Sadly, we're under our 3rd full course caution. The reason why, the Live On Ford Riley for Mike Shank Racing and John Pugh just took a very wild ride. There's his team owner and boss, Mike Shank. They're trying to communicate to John and get it going, get it fired up again. This was a pretty fast, wild ride. Look way ahead.
See there, John to the inside. Looked like the 17 Porsche may have pinched him a little bit, certainly wasn't giving him the way through. John jumped on the brakes, used some curb, spun it around, and obviously stalled the engine, Dorsey. No problems. They told him to reset everything, try and get some fire back in that engine.
No damage to the car except for it won't start the engine. And heard Mike Shank call in to John, said, hey, if those just push it and pop start it, you can drive it back here, and that's what they're doing right now. There it did.
Car looks okay.
Pull your door down.
He's fine.
Pull your door. There you go. All right, come on, come on.
That's Mike Shank directing. He's watching us on live.
Problem is, I think he's lost a lap.
Yeah, he did lose a lap. They went by.
Remember, these are the guys who are leading the North American Endurance Championship after the first round at Daytona, so got some work to do.
That's a shame.
It really is, because that was a brilliant stint. I mean, to keep ahead of the likes of Sebastian Bourdais and basically identical equipment, different teams, but same package, that is a tremendous run for John.
So Mike's talking there with the engineer Dale Wise, and they're trying to work out what they need to do when John brings that car back to pit road, if indeed he does. I'm sure they'll have to. But let's take a look at it again. And again, look way up on your screen.
I think that he just got pinched across that curb, and once he turned the right side tires inside that curb, off the car went.
There was another wild ride by another DP. I think it was the 7. I think it may have been the 7 Daytona prototype of Colin Brown, who went across the grass there at the inner loop.
Haven't wrecked in that inner loop before, I can tell you. When one car gets loose in there and you're in a train like that and you're all turned in, committed for the corner, there's really nowhere you can go.
Did you design that corner or something?
I helped. I think I did, yeah. There was a gravel trap there before, which really was a pain because everybody gets stuck. But, I mean, what happens is if they're turned into the corner and there's a wreck in front of you, there's really nothing you can do.
So you saw there John Pugh, and the team decided not to come to pit road. The car feels fine, I'm sure, is the report from Pugh back to MSR headquarters.
It'll be good.
And
It'll
it
be
begins
fine.
a long catch-up process. And so while we are circulating at a slower pace, let's bring you up to speed with what has gone down thus far in the Sahlen 6 hours of the Glen. You see the 41 Dempsey Racing Mazda, the visitflorida.com car go up. But look at the top of the hill. Alex Popov has front tyre dramas.
Yeah, all sorts of drama with that car. Got it back to pit lane. There was some brake light issues that cost him a lot of time. And this is a shame, so the car was really, really fast.
This was scary. Here, John Potter pulls off course with a fire inside the cockpit. That's not an engine fire, folks. That's the dash.
So, problems that ended in flames for the second week in a row. Check out the orange and white SunTrust Corvette. Max Angelelli on the inside of David Donahue. He got sideways here, slapped the 5, damage, bodywork flies. And that caused the 10 to come into pit lane for a major fix. And this was a super stop and super work from Wayne Taylor's boys.
A lot of pressure. They practice this sort of thing mainly for the Daytona 24-hour race, but in the heat of the battle, Dorsey, always wonder if you can get the job done. They just kept him on the lead lap.
This good hard racing, you see right there, Jeff Siegel in the Ferrari, realizing he was in too deep, too late, trying to avoid, but they made contact with 41 Mazda spins.
Top 5 in each category, and when you think about that visitflorida.com Mazda for Dempsey Racing, they must be thinking, what is wrong with us, and have we got a target on us? Because for the second time in 2 weeks, they've been hit during the race and sent sideways. So it's been a little bit of a frustrating time for those guys. Updated GT standings, it's still Stevenson 1-2. What a drive from Dane Cameron. 12th on the grid to 3rd in this race. He's overtaken fellow Mazda driver Sylvain Tremblay, and the championship leader Jeff Siegel is in the top 5.
One thing about this, though, we just saw the trouble that John Pugh had in the number 60 Mike Shank car. He can stay out now and get that lap back and then rejoin after the pit stop.
Yeah, the good news is the other DP leaders have 19 laps on the board, so they'll certainly take this opportunity to pit and refuel. They'll keep the 60 out. He'll get waved through and get back on the lead lap, and then they have the opportunity to pit John with these new pit stop regulations that have been enforced.
For those of you just turning on, we're an hour and a half into this Sahlen 6 hours of the Glen. Great to have you with us. We know about the excessive temperatures and bizarre weather that has just blasted this country, so we hope you're safe, staying cool and relaxing on a Sunday afternoon. Let's check in with this round of stops. We saw a leapfrog happen last time. Great work from the Action Express boys in the 9. What's Ganassi got? What's SunTrust got? They're back in the game all of a sudden. There's a lot to play for right here, right now. Brian?
Barbosa's to his marks. Angelelli comes in as well. A look down pit road. Scott Pruitt is in. It'll be 4 tires and fuel. It is sticker tires that will go on. GT teams, some of them running scrubbed Continentals, but the Daytona prototypes going with the stickers. Barbosa stays behind the wheel. Over an hour and 15 minutes on this last set of tires, just waiting for fuel. Barbosa's done, Jamie.
Gainesville car in. This is a little bit of a longer pit stop because they did do a driver change, so Alex Gurney now behind the wheel, but he's also out on 4 new sticker Continentals and a full fuel load.
Look at the race on pit lane. The 01 boys get the job done. That was beautiful stuff. Remember, these guys were not topping up with fuel with a full 18.5 gallons. They only had 19 laps on the board. That then put the pressure on the driver change and the tire change to get done quickly.
This shows you how important it is to have a good pit crew now, guys. This has all changed. In road racing, you never really had to be that concentrated on this. Nowadays, you better have the job done right.
And if you're a regular viewer of the Grand Am Rolex Series, start rubbing your hands together. We've got Ganassi and Gainesco right on each other. This is going to get good.
I was thinking about what's the toughest component on this race car which will enable it to go 650 miles in the next 6 hours. I thought the engine. It turns over 248,000 times during that period. Or maybe the transmission, shifting 4,775 times. Or maybe something smaller, electronics. After all, without electronics, this car won't run. And it brought me to this guy, the alternator. You see, it provides all the power for the car. If it doesn't work, the engine won't run. Transmission won't shift. Power steering doesn't work. Brakes are overheat. Driver's going to overheat. So as a matter of fact, this is our best friend, and he likes to stay cool. Gainesco's done a lot to keep it that way. They put some heat shielding on the back, but more importantly, they've taken an extra hose off the NACA duct to bring him cool air. Because you see, my friend, when he's happy, I'm happy. When he's not happy, we're not happy.
And Dorse, that's very appropriate at the moment because last weekend's European Formula One Grand Prix, an alternator problem from overheating took out Sebastian Vettel, race leader and world champion, and also Romain Grosjean after Renault did the analysis of that.
So easy to overlook that little guy. You know, these systems nowadays, everything's electronic. They need 13.5 volts.
Here we see the 2 Stevenson cars. Remember on the first round of pit stops, the 57 beat the 75 out? Well, guess what? Their crew responds this time and gets Jordan Taylor back out. Looks like with Jordan and Robin, not 3 full stints, but certainly a triple run in the cars.
Speed source there in the Mazda, also with a great stop. You see the 70.
42 looks good too. They're really worried about full fuel load. Lost a lot of ground at a recent event on pit lane because of the time it took to get that 42 car topped up. But when you're doing a partial load, it really matches the tire stop more than getting all of the fuel in.
There was a really good stop from one of the TRG Porsches there as well. It ducked out right beside the 59. Championship winning Brumos Porsche. We're getting ready to go. The Mazda CX-5 pace car off the track. Green flies at the Glen. 3rd full course caution over with. Look at John Fogarty on the inside in the Red Dragon.
Big driver changes here. It's now Memo Rojas behind the wheel of the 01 and Alex Gurney looking for the lead. Look at this battle down in the first turn.
That's the great thing about turn 1 here at Watkins Glen is that every restart you can attack. You can try to get that position.
This is a great run here. You can see the downforce that these cars delivered. There's the high-speed section of the racetrack on cold tires. That 19 car was flat out. As now Gurney probes and pushes for the lead.
And Bourdais is in the mix as well. That 3rd car in shot, car number 8. This was the car that many felt should have won the Rolex 24 at Daytona. There was a late hiccup and the 60 was there to take it home. Instead, it was another Ford Riley that won. This is great for Bourdais. He has driven Daytona prototypes before at the Rolex 24, but this is his first run at the Glen and first run in this new Generation 3 spec Riley Daytona prototype. He's loving it.
Add Joao Barbosa to the mix. That and Max Angelelli, they were really close entering the inner loop, and unfortunately Max tried one of his signature out-braking maneuvers, and it broke those 2 away from the pack. It didn't work, in other words.
Remember, these 2 guys up front, they just leapt in the cars. They got to get into the groove immediately. But I tell you what, the Ganassi team have really started to get that 01 car working well. Look at the GT battle here. Look at Cameron down the inside of one of the Steven machines.
It's the 75, isn't it, that he's trying to squeeze up the inside of Jordan Taylor. 1, 2, 3, and 4 right here.
So Liddell has got around Jordan there on that lap after the restart.
Make that first through the rest of the field. They're all there. Oh, one gets the Mazda out wide. Made contact with 31.
31 of Boris said there in the Marsh Racing Wheel and Corvette. There's Boris up ahead.
Cosmo looking racy again. The ESM Ferrari, that beautiful colored black and green machine. He has got some speed.
Just kind of bounced off each other. That wasn't intentional. That was just close quarters of racing.
And the 67 of Wolf Hensler, a man who has won Le Mans, he's won the Sahlen 6 Hours of the Glen, he's won the Rolex 24. There he is, there's Wolfie. He's jumped into that Adobe Road 67. And they are going to be contenders today.
Correction, there's no Wayne Nonemaker. There was a driver change there. We hadn't seen the time and scoring cycle. Wayne Nonemaker now behind the wheel, so he's looking racy immediately in the 42.
And Ian Boston, the APR Audi too, also looking racy on the driver change.
Hey, speaking of that 42 Sahlen's Mazda, let's go to the man who started it and did a brilliant opening stint.
Dane Cameron has a smile on his face, but I don't know if you can see this. He's got a Ziploc bag full of ice down his back. Dane, how hot are the conditions?
It's pretty warm in there. It's a little bit cooler today than it's been earlier in the week, but it's still, 140 odd degrees inside the car in one of these things. And we decided not to run a cool suit because they're a little unreliable in some of these longer races. So we've just been cramming ice down my suit when we do doubles. So the car's really good though. Unfortunately, we had a problem in qualifying, broke the sway bar, so we had to come from about 12th, but dragged it up to 3rd. The car is awesome. Wayne's in now. He's been super quick all week, so we're going to keep it up on the pointy end now.
All right, hope you guys have some more success. Brian?
Well, Dane Cameron may be hot, but Scott Pruitt looks cool as a cucumber. You stepped out of the 0-1, and one of the things that I heard you say on the radio earlier is the balance is good. That may not be good news for your competitors.
The Telmex BMW is running really good. The balance is good. The bars are working great in traffic. I'm able to come up on the rear bar, free it up a little bit, and stay still right up underneath the guys in front of me. I have a family at home. It's good. This is probably one of the best setups that we've had on a car in a long time. So trying to be patient, trying to be smart, and just let the miles go by.
Aero balance is something that I know that you guys have struggled to find all year long, and this is a pretty aero racetrack. Obviously, you guys have found something with the aerodynamics.
I'd say I would these mid aero tracks, I think we're pretty good. It's when the high tracks we really lose a lot. So it's the efficiencies and so on, and a lot of it is balancing the aero with the mechanical. I think that's what we really hit on this weekend.
They've hit on it, and as I said, that may not be good news to their competitor. Scott Pruitt very happy with the 0-1.
What you saw just there was the 57 Stevenson Camaro coming in to perform a stop-go penalty for jumping the restart.
And the bars Scott's talking about, the adjustment he made, are sway bars. There's one for the front, one from the rear. The drivers in these cars can soften them or stiffen them to change the characteristic and the balance front to rear of the car. And a driver that's really good at that, which Scott is, can really tune the car on these restarts.
And that's what he's talking about. He said the bars are working good. That means they're in a good range, whereas the track conditions change a little bit throughout the course of a fuel stint. That allows him to keep the balance on the race car. He stiffened that rear bar up, made it loosen it up a little bit, and got rid of the understeer.
This is for second in GT. We've got a new leader. Jordan Taylor's climbed back up the front. Andrew Davis got around Sylvain Tremblay. So too did Boris Said. The 70 Speed Source machine goes back to 4th place. Wayne Nonemaker's lining up for a shot. The ESM Patron Ferrari is there. Guy Cosmo's coming. This GT class today, the pressure has been relentless.
It really has. This has just been a great battle, but we've seen the number 2 Stalwart cars back out there in the thick of the action, but it hasn't been a clean run here as we look at the number 2 car coming back through the pack here, Dorsey. Alex Popov still behind the wheel. Let's take a look.
Now, this is what it's like when you have 2 classes racing at once. Heads up stuff. Not always working the way it should. Little tail wag and bam, knock you out of the way.
That's the 3rd TRG Porsche entry of Eduardo Costabal behind the wheel. He took over from Eliseo Salazar. And I can only imagine how disappointed the 57 of Robin Liddell is for being judged to have jumped the start. It's a long way to play catch up, but the good thing is 4.5 hours to go.
Yeah, we wondered how Jordan Taylor had lost that position. The Stevenson cars had switched positions there on that initial restart. So Robin obviously got a little bit feisty, and it all comes down. I think he's really feeling it, that he's,
Ooh, spin here so far. No problem. The car's running as long as he gets out of there. That's the inner loop exit.
That's Joe Sahlen, the man behind the name, who runs that famed company.
Come on, come on.
Comes the leader. Jordan Taylor right there.
Goes down a lap. That's another part of the racetrack, guys, where it really gets slippery. That inner loop, you come in there, you flick to the right, flick to the left, flick to the left, flick to the right, and if it gets gravel in the middle of it, the second part of the flicks doesn't work so good.
got out of that okay. He's all right. He's heading in the right direction.
Yeah, that's for sure. A little while ago, we saw the number 90 car that had been right at the head of the pack here. Suddenly was dropping back a little bit. Brian, what are you hearing from Spirit of Daytona?
I checked in with Troy Fliss, and he says everything's good with the car. They had a problem on the stop. They had a gun fail. One of the air guns that's used to remove that wheel nut, it failed, and so it delayed him on that stop. Ollie Gavin has a good Corvette underneath him. He just got a little bit delayed getting out of the pits.
That's good news, because these boys are another one. They've just been a little bit inconsistent. 2 wins on the year, but they keep tripping up. Every time they get a little bit momentum, something goes wrong.
You know how the mechanics love keeping their tools really all in order and real clean and everything? Well, air guns get chucked back and forth across the wall all the time. They get beat up pretty bad. I wouldn't want to be one.
This is pretty good. This is the 3-time champion versus a 2-time champion. Memo Rojas up against Alex Gurney. Look at this, the 10 SunTrust car looking racy. Angelelli wants to have a look at Barbosa, and they're both chasing Sebastian Bourdais, the 4-time Champ Car World Series titleist. We've got him in Grand Am. Yep, these guys have got to stay energized. They've got to stay on top of it throughout this long one. Tomorrow night, Larry McReynolds and Matt Clark are featured on NASCAR Race Hub presented by Ram at 6 p.m. Eastern tomorrow night. They're going to break down everything from last night's race in Kentucky, get you all fired up for Daytona, hear directly from the drivers, all the latest news. It's NASCAR Race Hub presented by Ram tomorrow night at 6 Eastern, only on Speed. I want to bring you up to date with an unfolding story in GT that affected Stevenson Motorsports' Robin Liddell. Look at the overhead look here. There is the first GT car, the black Mazda, and Robin's over on the pit wall.
Yeah, you're not allowed to initiate a pass. Forget passing the car, even jumping out of line. You could see the stripe there, and that was the penalty that Robin received for making that initial move. Now, watch this. This is another replay. Watch the stack-up effect of some of the cars. Watch this. Jordan Taylor has to lock up there, and I think that's what caused Robin to jink out. Now, I understand this rule. What it is doing, protecting guys from getting past and leapfrogged at the start, Dorsey. But if someone misses a gear, something goes wrong, you're going to have to take evasive action, and then you get penalized for it.
That's the flaw in the system right there. When something goes wrong, it goes wrong and it stacks everything up.
Brian, I know that you've spent some time at the Stevenson camp. What are they saying?
Well, I checked in with Mike Johnson, and he just kind of shrugged. He said, I saw the tire smoke from Jordan's car, and, you know, Robin pulled out, and yes, you have to avoid. No, I don't think we should have gotten a penalty, but he said, you know what, it's not a big deal. We'll make it up. I'm not worried about it.
And that's the way Mike is. He's not going to let something like that fluster him very much. It's a long way in this race, and he's looking at the big picture.
Tell you what, though, he's got his game face on. We understand he didn't want to talk to Brian.
That is very game face for Mike Johnson.
We love you, mate.
We've been talking a lot about that black and green Patron ESM Ferrari 458 Grand Am. It's great to have the guys back in the series. They're doing a handful of races this year. One of their drivers is a man who has won this Sahlen 6 Hours of the Glen many, many years ago. Let's hear from Johannes van Overbeek.
This is Johannes van Overbeek, who won in 2003. Johannes, you haven't been back in this event since. Being back in the Ferrari, what are your chances?
Well, I think they're good. The ESM Patron car's been strong all weekend. That's Mike Hedlund's first event, first time he's raced at Watkins Glen. Did a great job at the start. Guy's in the car now. And it's a clever pit strategy and good driving by Guy. We're moving up, so we'll see. Long ways to go, and so far the Ferrari's looking good, and crew's working well.
You mentioned Mike Hedlund. That's the driver that you've been coaching for the last year. It's your first race together. What is that like when you have an amateur that you're trying to help along and then you race with him?
It's fun. It's a realization of a dream for him, and any way I can participate and contribute to that is fantastic. And he's loving life and doing a great job and learning and really pushing himself. And you know, I hope for him and ESM Patron we have a good result today.
So far it's going well. He started 14th, already up to 6th.
There's other good news in GT for our defending champions. There is the famous 59, and for sports car fans here at the Glen, this goes back decades, all the way back to the Hurley Hayward days and Peter Gregg days, and this is a really promising sign for Andrew Davis and Lee Keane. Lee is behind the wheel now, the 2-time Grand Am GT champion, and he is running well. He's got the margin over Boris Said at the moment. There's Boris in the Wheeling Corvette. He's chasing down Jordan Taylor. But it's been a tough year for the defending champions. They're looking for it to turn around. They've only had one podium, and they need to get another one desperately.
Yeah, they do, and we noticed Lee Keane on that driver change, Dorsey, at Road America, make a little slip as he was working around the crew to do that driver change. He said he really sprained his ankle when he had his foot on the clutch, his left foot on the clutch there to take off out of the pit lane. He said it was really hurting him. It was blown up, and of course this weekend, sharing the car with Andrew Davis, that will be his 100th career Rolex start here today, looking to repeat here as a winner.
Well, speaking of Andrew Davis, Brian is standing by with the man who got his very first win for Brumos here last year. Brian?
Yeah, he doesn't look old enough to have 100 starts, but indeed this is your 100th start. You guys won this race last year, and I know getting that victory with Brumos was special, but now you do something like this, your 100 Rolex start, and you do it with Brumos. How does that feel?
It's amazing. It's a dream come true, really. To have 100 professional starts in the Rolex Sports Car Series is one thing, but then to have that 100 with Brumos Racing, driving the famous 59, following Hurley Haywood's footsteps is really special to me.
Now this weekend, you guys have your work cut out if you want to repeat again, and I know you guys have a plan to get this done. So what's the strategy? How are you going to take care of the tires? How are you going to take care of the fuel and be back up front at the end of this thing?
Our plan takes about 6 hours because we don't quite have the pace to run right up front and be the quickest. So we're going to let the race come to us. We've got to conserve these tires because we've had a few issues earlier on. Save fuel, be smart, stay out of trouble, let the others make mistakes, and just run strong like Brumos always does.
You say stay out of trouble. What have you done to Twinkle Toes to Lee Keane to make sure that he doesn't go tripping over his feet when he goes over the wall this weekend?
I've been working on that. I haven't been massaging his foot like he's been asking me to a bunch, but no, he's well aware. He's giving himself an extra step from Don Leatherwood. Make sure he doesn't trip over him this time. But heroic effort for him out there because I know he's hurting a little bit, but it doesn't slow him down.
And I saw a picture of his foot. His foot is ugly anyway, but when it was green and blue, it was really ugly, guys.
They look like Lee's toes.
That driver change business will kill you sometimes. You know, once you're in the car out on the racetrack, you're relatively safe, all belted up. But getting in and out, man, you bang your elbows, you twist your ankles, you hurt your feet, your butt, everything. It's not good.
Well, when he hurt that left ankle last week, he said when he engaged the clutch, he could barely hold onto it. His leg was shaking profusely.
Take a look at the 51 R8 Audi. I mean, that's a really cool car, but look at the back window area and notice that there's something missing, boys. That piece would have been a really cool souvenir if you were a fan, but the corner worker got to it first. Of course, I'm not sure he's not. I wonder what that cost to give that guy.
Yeah, probably on about 15. Well, actually, it's not a fan. It's the APR golf car there. They went out and got it. That's pretty cool.
No, that's not a cheap piece. Is what I was bringing, a carbon fiber piece with a Lexan deal. That would have been a great souvenir to take home.
This is a Rolex 24 winner, and Ian Bass holding off the 67 of Wolf Hensler. Jeff Siegel is in the mix in 10th. Brian Sellers is in the 66. You ride with Siegel, putting the pressure on Hensler. Gets him down the inside.
Yeah, Hensler had a little bobble there coming through the sock, as we call it, down towards the boot, and Siegel pounced in a hurry. So you can see the damage there to the left front. That came from the incident down a few laps ago with Jeff behind the wheel when he made that late move. But fortunately, it looks like the performance of the car is there still. That is the championship leader.
Take a look at something that just happened to Max Angelelli a few minutes ago as he was racing pretty hard for a corner. And we know how Max really likes to get into the brake zone deep and hard and heavy. This is no difference. Watch him here. Real late move, though, and he locks up the right side front, at least right front, pretty hard.
Yeah, just trying to put the pressure on. I don't think even Max Angelelli was thinking he was going to go by there, but just obviously threshold braking, trying to make up a few tenths on the Action Express car right in front of him.
Up front in Daytona prototypes, nothing has changed. Rojas and Gurney, there's less than half a second between them. Sebastian Bourdais maintains third. Barbosa, he's yet to change out with Darren Law. Angelelli yet to change out with Ricky Taylor. And David Donahue still in that 6th position ahead of Ollie Gavin. Look at this now, coming into GT traffic. The Gainesco 01, the 99 Red Dragon for Bob Stallings' organisation. The Ganassi machine has the upper hand and it threads the needle through GT traffic.
This is where you have to be really careful there. There you see Scott Pruitt diving to the inside, but you've got to manage that traffic. You've got to really check up enough to get a good run and not allow that car behind you to gain the momentum and make the pass.
And it would be the 3rd place car in DP that would be the one that got the run, because both these guys got held up by the GT guys around them. Not intentionally. I mean, this is just the ebb and flow of endurance racing with two classes.
There's a lot of pressure there, but it could. Oh, Siegel runs a little bit wide there, I think, and released off the corner a little bit sooner than Scott was anticipating. And you talked about it, Dorsey. There's marbles on the outside of these corners. You have to be careful. Look how patient Scott Pruitt is right there.
The run down into the boot, and this is part of sports car endurance racing, dealing with multi-classes. Sebastian Bourdais is right up with Alex Gurney now. We are hearing that the 99 Red Dragon for Gainsco Bob Stallings has a steering issue.
This is an electronic pump that runs the steering on this car, and it can fail. This is a high-load racetrack, and you can be in the middle of a power steering corner and go back to manual. I'm not saying that's what's happening, but they got a problem.
Remember, they had an ECU go bad at Mid-Ohio when they had the dominant car there and cost them a potential victory. My correction is, of course, Memo Rojas behind the wheel of the 01 car right now, threading his way through the traffic, doing a brilliant job there.
Well, it feels more like the rack to me.
That's Alex Gurney saying it feels more like the steering rack is where the problem is. Remember, they had an electronic issue too at Homestead Miami Speedway.
And my little alternator piece, remember that alternator provides the voltage that makes all that work. But this high-load G-force, when you climb these hills, you really bear the suspension down into the asphalt, and it really puts an unusual amount of stress on that power steering.
Let's go and hear from the man who owns the team, who's had his patience tested this year, Bob Stallings.
The expression on Bob's face says a lot. Bob, another disappointment here today. How is this going to affect the rest of the race?
Well, unfortunately, we're really fast again, and we're having some complications in our power steering or somewhere in the rack itself. We're trying to figure out by talking to Alex what we think it is, but there definitely is an issue.
It's not the first time this year there's been a power steering issue. Is it similar?
I don't think so. No, this seems more mechanical. We know that our power steering unit itself is heating up a little bit. We've been dialing it back. That, I think, is a containable problem. Our bigger issue is that we feel like there might be something mechanical going on.
Alex Gurney just reporting on the radio that they have lost power steering, so this team still has some work to do, guys.
Interesting right there. You heard Bob Stallings say that they dialed it back. Look on the racetrack while I'm talking
Saying
here.
you have completely lost power steering.
Remember, these cars, Dorsey, are designed.
Well, I haven't felt it before, but it does feel like that, yeah.
They're designed to work with power steering, the steering geometry. You can't, people always say, well, I drive a car that doesn't have power steering, an old version of a road car. They're designed that way to not have it when the car's
There's been a lot more effort into it.
They're able to dial back the mechanical assist from that, and that's what they were talking about, trying to take the heat off of the pump by giving it less mechanical assistance. However, the rack on these, unlike a street car, is very narrow. It's very small and kept lightweight, so it's really under a lot of bind on these types of circuits. They were dealing with a problem that they will have to address.
And that opens things up for Memo Rojas, who now enjoys a 2.4-second lead. Doesn't look too enjoyable, does it? Visit Florida.com. The boys at Dempsey having some fun. Here's how things stand right at the moment.
If he's out there, he's fair game as far as I'm concerned.
In your world.
The important thing to know here is all of these guys are on the same lap, so the 7 car and the 60 car work some magic there under the safety caution period. So everyone's on the lead lap, everyone in the game.
That is the good news. What about GT? This has been a fierce fight. Stevenson's Jordan Taylor over Lee King, Sylvain Tremblay, Guy Cosmo working the ESM Ferrari up there, and Wayne Nonamaker in the Sahlen's Mazda hanging tough. This has been a hotly contested class today. Robin Liddell, a one-time leader, playing catch-up back down there in 9th. While we're away, and as you may have noticed on that graphic there, that Sebastian Bourdais has been relegated to 4th. Yes, João Barbosa. This has been a very impressive opening run from the Portuguese driver who now lives in the United States full-time, and he's starting to make ground on Alex Gurney for 2nd.
We know that the car is good on the long runs because we saw him double stint those tyres early on and still held the lead and set fastest laps of the race. So he is coming, he's coming strong. But I tell you what, Alex Gurney is doing an Ironman stint here. If that car is playing up with the power steering, Dorsey, that is really unbelievable stress on him. We talked about fatigue, we talked about the heat of the day, so he's hanging on and doing a brilliant job.
He is, because the G-loads on these up and down hills are so extreme that it makes it even worse a job for him with no power steering. He won't last long like that if they can't figure out a solution.
The bigger problem is if the car actually gets into a twitch. It's one thing you're
can't catch
turning
it.
in slowly. If it suddenly gets loose on you, you have to correct. That's when it can catch you out.
That's the problem. You know, if the back end steps out, you can't countersteer. The Starworks guys are bored.
They're messing with this poor guy. And he's just made live national television.
Could get really
He'll be
ugly.
hearing about that one.
Actually, he's made international television. We should say hi to the folks in Europe watching via Motors TV. You got plenty of Europeans in this race. Oh, Sylvain Tremblay just locks up a little bit. The pressure from Guy Cosmo. Also want to say hi to the folks in Australia watching live via Speed Australia.
Actually, that was the engine on the 70. It always looks like that. Like you see it again right there. They just dump a lot of fuel in on diesel and it makes all that black smoke.
That's what it could have been too on the restart as well, where somebody checked up in front of Sylvain Tremblay to cause that, and that caught Jordan Taylor unawares as well. There's the Fometics Porsche. It's been a pretty interesting run today. Good early going from Martin Raginger, and he, of course, is sharing that drive with Claudio Burton, the team principal, who's now behind the wheel.
Yeah, and they're only going with 2 drivers, and Claudio's just getting up to speed here. It's his first time here at the racetrack as well for Martin Raginger as well, so they're doing a brilliant job. And when you have a problem like that power steering, talking about the 2-driver lineup versus a 3, that's where you really want that spare guy in your pit lane, because if you can suddenly only do single stints or half a stint, that's when you need an extra man on your crew.
Yep, that is the truth.
For those of you watching live in Scotland, here's your man, Ryan Dial. He's with Brian Till.
Ryan Dial from Starworks standing down here while Sebastian Bourdais is in the car right now. You draft in this 3rd driver, and Calvin and Dorsey were just talking about fatigue. How much does that help you in Enzo when you've got a 3rd player to help you out?
It's always interesting to see what people do every year coming here. And we've done it with both 2 and 3. But for us, we felt that the best strategy for us in the championship was to have Bourdais come in and help lighten the load a little bit on me. It's definitely one of the most physical tracks we come to, and it was so hot earlier in the week, we weren't sure what the weather was going to do today, but it's going to be a hard day.
2nd in the championship, 2nd in the North American Endurance Championship. When you have a driver of Bourdais' stature, it comes in, it gives you another pro's look at how the car sets up. Do you see anything different that he might be able to point out that you guys perhaps missed because you're focused on one direction and he has a clean sheet of paper to work from?
He described the car as wobbly a couple of times this weekend, so no, it's been tough for him. I mean, we kind of threw him into the lion's den a little bit, but he's done a great job, and it's always good to have somebody else come in with a different opinion, and he hasn't done a lot of driving in these cars, only in Daytona, so I guess he kind of let me take the reins a little bit, and we seem like we got a good race car. We weren't sure what to expect today, but I think things are going to be okay.
Wobbly sounds different when it comes from Bourdais because it has a French accent than it does from Ryan.
I describe Lee Diffie's condition as wobbly on occasion.
Moving right along. 2.3 seconds out in front is Memo Rojas. This man here on screen, Bourdais, is in 4th. He heads David Donahue. Angelelli is 6th. Ollie Gavin is 7th. Brian Frizzell in that Doran Delara is back in 8th, and then Colin Brown and Oz Negri in the 10, and just at 1 minute from 1st to 10th with all 10 Daytona prototypes on the lead lap. That's good stuff.
Worth noting that Frizzell and Colin Brown are in the Gen 2 cars. I mean, everyone else has switched to the new Generation 3 that was introduced at Daytona this year. They're in the older car, and they're really going to struggle a little bit for pace, but they feel in this 6-hour race, run a good, clean race, that you may come through and score a nice result, maybe in the top 5.
We like to give you some sounds of speed when we can, and why not do it with any other car but our lead car? Grab the remote control, turn up the volume, and enjoy one of the best road racing tracks in the world. This is a lap of Watkins Glen with a 3-time champion, Memo Rojas. lap of the Glen. And when you look at the honour roll, remember there have been 30 runnings of the 6 hours of the Glen. The man, the master, threw it at the top. But look at some of those names. X, Weaver and Leitzinger. You just took a ride with the guy in second.
Starting in the 6th spot today. Schrader is your leader in the blue and white car. Gentilozzi is second, right behind him. Boris Said moving up into 3rd spot.
Oh, man. The Sahlen 6 hour of the Glen is underway. Some magical moments, some wonderful years here at the Glen at Watkins Glen. Remember, we are round 8 of the Rolex Series, round 2 of the North American Endurance Series. It concludes when we go to Super Weekend at the Brickyard, and part of Speed Inside Deals, we're offering you an exclusive deal for that weekend. If you purchase your tickets now during this 6-hour live broadcast here at the Glen, tickets are very affordable and you can save an additional $6 on a general admission ticket. Speed.com/deals, enter the promo code SPEED6. Hope to see many of you there on that wonderful weekend.
That Schrader guy they talking about.
They slipped that one in on me. I didn't know it was coming either.
I tell you who's come back to life. Look at this, folks. Look at this. The Red Dragon is back. Alex Gurney has been working with his team. They've sorted out their steering problems, and Gurney and Fogarty are back in the game.
What they did was they've taken the mechanical assistance away from the electronic pump, and they turned it back.
Jamie, what are they saying down there in the Red Dragon camp?
Spoke with Bob Stallings, and he said that they've worked with John on the radio to work on those settings for the power steering assist. They have it dialed back as far as they can get it with Alex still being able to drive the car. It's still about 14 degrees too high in the pump temperature, but they think they're going to be okay for right now. More drama, though, down on pit lane for the number 51 APR Audi. The crew pushing it back to the garage. I have not received word why yet. Ian Boss brought it in for what I thought was going to be a normal pit stop, and they are going back.
Even in first gear, it won't click.
The sister car, the 52, is still running, though, so...
gear without my foot on the clutch. Control, clutch out, and then get back into first gear. I've done that.
So perhaps some gearbox dramas there for the 51. Meanwhile, Mark Bassing is in the 52, and he's almost broken into the top 10 in class. Here he is. He is fighting with Wolf Hensler. Meanwhile, the 10 of Max Angelelli, who's 6th overall and in DPs, is weaving his way through.
Yeah, he's doing a great job. Remember that he almost went down a lap when they changed the rear tail on that car. Meanwhile, we see the 2 car coming in for another pit stop. They've been in the wars a little bit today, not really in the game. Brian, what do you see?
Well, Alex Popov is out, Lucas Luhr is in. You guys were laughing earlier about unceremoniously being removed from the car. Popov actually on the ground during that driving change. Lucas Luhr now stalls it as he tries to leave the pits. They'll bump start it. He'll be back underway.
You may have seen there in the background too the extreme speed Ferrari of Guy Cosmo coming into pit lane whilst in the top 10, in top 5 in GT. Here we go, driver change underway. That's the familiar helmet of Johannes van Overbeek climbing aboard. So cycling through all 3 of their drivers. The new man on the scene, Mike Headland, started. Cosmo did a brilliant run. Now it's Johannes' turn.
Now remember at Detroit, they had the lead and the pit stop was not really pretty. I spoke to Guy Cosmo about that this week, and he said, you know what, it's not a regular crew that we use in the ALMS series. It's different rules here. It just got away from us. One of the wheels was left loose. Then there was a pit lane speed infraction. It just went from bad to worse that day.
One of the things that Cal and Dorse, you always talk about is patience, patience, patience in these endurance races. Look at this. It involves our race leader, Memo Rojas, and the 42 Sahlen's car of Wayne Nonamaker. Watch Dorse.
Now that, you know, and Memo's been doing a really good job in traffic, no doubt about it. In that time, he was assuming that the 42 saw him coming. He went for that apex, and of course, you see right here, And you got that decision to make every time you pass one of these
Sometimes
cars.
what the GT drivers will do, if they see a DP car coming, they'll actually exaggerate their move in to try and indicate to the DP guy, don't try and make that move. I think there was just a cross communication right there, and certainly Memo Rojas, who's done a brilliant job in this stint in managing the traffic, is probably seeing that red dragon looming hard in the mirrors. And look at Barbosa, he is on a charge. The Action Express car is going to be a factor here all day long.
I always liked it when before you even got to the turning point, when the GT driver would just put his hand up for you. As soon as he puts his hand up, I know he knows I'm back there and I can see him.
Yeah.
Then I can make my move.
7 years in, so we're starting to see the top 5 in GT starting to cycle through now. That's Tremblay out, and it's Bomarito back in for his second shot in this race. These guys also just going with a 2-driver rotation. We've got another front-running GT car on the scene. Brian, tell us more.
Some more bear bond going on the left front of the number 69, trying to make sure that they repair that damage that was done when Jeff Siegel had a little argy-bargy, as Calvin would say. So they're trying to make sure that that fender is on there well, doesn't pack a lot of air up underneath that hood. There'll be 4 tires and fuels, they'll be back underway, and right behind him, the number 70, Speed Source Mazda, Jonathan Bomarito now behind the wheel.
It's really important when you have some damage early in one of these longer races that you get that attended to, Dorsey, because you're better to waste a little bit more time on pit lane now. You've got a chance to recover, there'll be cautions, and you can get back in the game. But if you let it get loose on you and it just exaggerates through the course of the race, then you're going to have problems right when it counts in the final hour.
Like I said at the beginning of the show, this is a very high-speed racetrack. Even these cars are capable of 150-mile-per-hour plus speeds, and they're going up that, with all that wind and a hole in that fender, like you said, Calvin, it'll just destroy the car over the course of 6 hours.
In the background there, you saw Claudio Burton bring the Fermetics car in, and Raginger's climbing back aboard that car. So just a short stint for the car owner. They feel that Raginger can keep them in the mix in this race.
On the driver log time, in a 6-hour event, a driver is able to drive up to 3.5 hours consecutively. But if he does 3 hours or more, he has to take at least a 1-hour break in these 6-hour events.
Remember that year that we saw Pruitt? There was something wrong with Rojas. He was sick or something. Pretty sure Scott Pruitt did straight the last 3 hours of the race.
And it was really close. I think they were really worried about exceeding that driver log time that day.
Had that happen to me before, where a co-driver had a piece of rock come up and get in his eye and he couldn't drive anymore, and then you're stuck with it.
Hey, Brian, pressure on the team. This is a thrilling battle across the top 3.
And a strategy down here of putting Scott Pruitt back in. Memo Rojas is out after a single. Timmy Keene, that's what their strategy was. They changed the gear in this car. A lot of wind right in your face down the back straightaway today, so they've gone to a different gear. They're getting the top speed that they need, Jamie.
99 is also in. Alex Kirby going to stay behind the wheel of the car, so it can't be too tough to drive right now. Crew is working on that power steering issue. It's to be fuel only. They are going to tires to get this work done and try and stay on this lead lap, but it is tight on pit lane. The 42 also just came in, and there's a costly mistake. He just left while the fuel hose was still attached. The team is going to have to push him to get him going again. It's not the kind of mistakes you need for a 6-hour race.
Lost 2 positions. You can see there Bourdais has gone through, unless there's been a driver change on the 8. Whether Dial's in there, we'll let you know in a moment. The 9 has gone through. 99 lost 2 positions.
If he accrues that penalty, if they assess the penalty to that car, that is a stop and go plus 30 seconds.
Oh. Now remember, we talked about at the beginning of the race, 2 races with M1. At the 3-hour mark in this race, we see the 60 on pit lane right now. There will be points awarded in the North American Endurance Championship. So we're 51 minutes to that 3-hour mark. Now looking at the numbers right now, it looks like these DPs are doing between 45 to 48 minutes on these runs. So they're going to need some yellow. Otherwise, all of these leaders are going to have to hit pit lane right before that 3-hour mark. So if you can save fuel right now, catch a break, you may be able to keep the lead of this race and get those big points.
Want to confirm that there was a driver change on the 8, Ryan Dial. We heard from the Scotsman not long ago. Well done, Sebastian Bourdais. Dial is now behind the wheel of the 8, and Darren Law has taken over from Joao Barbosa. What a stint that was from Barbosa. So Law now behind the wheel of the 9. Here's the story at Gainesco. Watch the fuel hose.
Yeah, that's... Oh, and he hit a tire, too. Hit a tire on the right front.
SunTrust car is in, and the Gainesco boys are bummed, as you could imagine. Brumos car is in. Davis climbing aboard, taking over from Lee Keane.
Tell you what, that 10 car having an extra lap on the board, that could be crucial here. If they're all getting the same fuel mileage, maybe that will give them that one extra lap to be leading potentially when the other DP cars have to pit. Remember, they did a brilliant job keeping the car on the lead lap. Maybe there'll be a reversal of fortunes here for this SunTrust team.
Wouldn't that be something? This is the 90 car coming in for its pit.
Tell us what you see, Brian.
Ollie Gavin will climb out. Richard Westbrook will take over. Notice this is a right-hand drive car, so that's easy to do that driver change. The only problem with it is also fueling from the right side right now, so you got to be careful not to interfere with the fueler while you're trying to do your driver change. Tires are going on, fuel is going in, and much like the 10 car, if the 90 is getting an extra lap, that may take him to the 3-hour mark. That could be big.
Here's a driver that has just electrified Grand Am this year, Richard Westbrook. Westy, as we call him, has just been dynamite in this car this year. He was kind of kicking himself for the altercation at Detroit, at Belle Isle. He feels he could have got another win for the Spirit of Daytona Corvette team, and now he climbs aboard. We've seen him here before in Porsche racing, but it's good to have Westy as a full-time competitor in Daytona prototypes now. The Englishman is ready to roll.
Yeah, and that mistake at Detroit, or that confrontation there on the racetrack, he's only 15 points out the lead. He would have had the championship lead if he had held on for a victory that day. Now we're looking at the GT leaders pitting.
And this is the end of what has been a very productive run for Jordan Taylor.
Looks like Matt Bell going to jump in here.
Yeah, this car looks like it is in perfect condition. I don't see a mark on it, and they've had a good run. Jordan Taylor doing a great job putting the car on pole, as we talked about at the beginning of the show. The second pole in a row, but a very different Camaro. The Stevenson team fielding two of them. It'll be interesting to see if the 88 doesn't come back. Could we see Stevenson with two Camaros for the rest of the year? We'll have to wait and find out, but right now Matt Bell about to head out as they finish the service, and taking a little bit longer to get the driver in, get that window net up, but now Matt Bell outstalls it, but he's under
car. You got the feeling that that car's going to be a contender all day long. Rock solid start. They've been very, very consistent. We'll hear from Jordan Taylor when we come back about that opening stint and about driving for a different team. No 88 Auto House Camaro this weekend, and we may not see it again this year. We hope we see Jordan Taylor for the remainder of 2012, that's for sure. See you in a moment. We know many of you tune in at different times. Let's bring you up to date with a race recap, and this involves the 51 APR Audi R8. Look at that rear window and that rear deck lid go flying. Fortunately, the team were able to retrieve it with thanks to some of the Watkins Glen corner marshals. This was a nervous moment, though, for John Potter.
John Potter had a fire in the cockpit and on the dash. Guys, this is as bad as it gets if you're a driver sitting in that seat there.
Scary scenes, and this follows up on an engine fire that they had at Road America just 1 week ago.
At the restart, some aggressive driving from Max the Axe Angelelli on the inside of David Donoghue. There was contact there after Angelelli got sideways. That brought out a full course caution. Great pit work, though.
It really was. They just got this change. It was under caution. They just got it changed to keep Max Angelelli on the lead lap.
How about this, Jeff Siegel? Too aggressive? You make the call. Rode the curb, got on the inside of Charles Escalade, but the VisitFlorida.com Mazda went spinning.
Yeah, there's bodywork damage there. They've tapered it up. So far, so good for the leader in the championship.
What about John Pugh? This was a wild ride, wasn't it, Dawes?
Yeah, got pinched down across the curb. He goes, big spin right there. Didn't hurt the car at all, but the stall itself, the car would not refire. Put the car down the lap. At that point, he's back on that lap.
Neutral clutch out. Even in first gear, it won't click. It won't go. It's like I can pre-rev it in first gear without my foot on the clutch.
And that was just trying to get the car back into the garage area. It has nothing to do with the car's failure, which was a wheel bearing. It's being fixed as we speak.
They will get it going eventually. That's the beauty of this 6-hour race. Continental Tire race recap. There's only one car out of the race. That was the 44 Magnus Porsche after that fire. And just 2 lead changes. There are our respective class leaders. One young guy, the 21-year-old from Florida who spent time at the front, is Jordan Taylor. He's with Brian.
Well, Lee, you say he spent time at the front, but I'm looking at him, and he doesn't look like he's even been in the car. I don't even think he's sweating. Jordan, I mean, what a great run. There's something about Watkins Glen and you that seem to work really well together, but how different is it when you come to a different team to adjust and get accustomed to the way things run here at Stevenson?
Well, the nice thing about the Camaro and working with both these teams is whenever one car got an update, the other one got the exact same for Brent and Miller. So getting in the car, all I had to really adjust to was the guys on the team, and it's been pretty easy. The guys are all real good and real easy to get along with. And for the race itself, car is really quick. We knew coming here the Camaro would be strong. It just suits the track, so we just got to keep it up front and get there at the end.
And you've had lots of different experiences this year, Le Mans being one of them. How do you take experience like that in the Corvette, running at Le Mans, and apply it to a 6-hour race like this one?
Yeah, well, every race you get experience, and I think you never stop learning no matter how old and experienced you are. So I've taken experience from Sebring throughout the first half of the Grand Am season, through Le Mans, and now here at the 6-hour, and even in that stint I was learning new things, and I don't think you'll ever stop learning, so we'll keep pushing, and hopefully we'll be out of there at the end.
Stevenson Camaro running strong right now, Lee.
And so too are the guys at the front of this field and motor race. Look at this. Scott Pruitt has climbed back aboard the 01. We saw that change. It was very slick work from the Ganassi boys. The BMW-powered Riley leads the way, but not by very far over Ryan Dial, who took over from Sebastian Bourdais. Reports from the pits that Bourdais just looked as fresh as when he got in, so he's loving the opportunity to drive this car here. Dial's behind the wheel, though, vying for this North American Endurance Championship and the Rolex Sports Car Series. Both those Riley chassis cars have gapped this Corvette for Gainsco Bob Stallings Racing. Alex Gurney is behind the wheel, and he's not as close as he was. I wonder if those steering problems are coming back to plague him a little bit.
Well, they had the problem on the pit stop, remember, and I'm surprised they haven't actually received a penalty. Don't want to bring up bad news for the team, but that was a pretty ugly pit stop, and the refueling rig was dragged. There was a competitor's tire. One of the GT teams may have got nudged, but if they got away with that, they certainly dodged a bullet, but they're still in the game. But Ryan Dial, Scott Pruitt, they're run 1-2 right now, and Pruitt leads him in the championship by a mere 5 points.
This is Darren Law in 4th place right now, a little distant 4th, I should say, trying to make up ground on that lead trio in front of him.
Behind him is his Action Express teammate, Terry Borchella, position number 5, car number 5, chasing this number 9. The boys from Action Express from Denver, North Carolina, running well. Behind Terry Borchella is Ricky Taylor in the 10. Richard Westbrook, Oz Negri, Wilkins is in 9th, and Dr. Jim Lowe is in the top 10. Here's a good scrap going on here. Ricky Taylor, this is a confidence-building race, and what I mean by that is he's looking forward to a solid result, no mistakes, get himself back on track.
Yeah, we remember these two cars with different drivers have really been tied at the hip today. We've seen Max Angelelli have to make late braking maneuvers down into turn 1 on David Donahue when he was behind the wheel of the number 5. But you're right, Lee, this is a really tough period for Ricky Taylor to get back in the groove. His father in the opening of this race said to Brian, like, I just knew that once he got back behind the wheel, he would be fine. His lap times have been very impressive here this weekend. He sat on the pole here last year. It wasn't intentional because of the problems that Max Angelelli qualified here this weekend. They just do a strict rotation. It was Max's turn, but Ricky Taylor is fast here at the Glen, just like his brother.
As a driver, it's a lot easier to deal with those kind of problems from inside the cockpit of the car, where you can alienate yourself and make yourself one, than it is outside talking to guys like us.
There will not be a silly move made here from Ricky Taylor, that's for sure. Let's switch gears. Let's talk GT. And the 75, where Jordan Taylor has just stepped from, is leading the way with Matt Bell behind the wheel. The Californian doing a really good job. You know him best from the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge Series. And he's got just a nice buffer over Jonathan Bomarito. You can't even see the black 70 Mazda from Speed Source in the background. You know why? Because he's 9.7 seconds in arrears. It's looking good for the 75 at the moment. Johannes van Overbeek in the Extreme Speed Ferrari is 3rd, and then Andrew Davis for Brumos, and then John Edwards. That's a snapshot of the top 5.
And I think the bigger picture as well, there's a lot of concern amongst all of these GT teams about the tires, the heavy loads that Dorsey mentioned around this Watkins Glen racetrack, the high ambient temperatures. There are a lot of issues during the practice and qualifying sessions, and right now, so far so good, Dorsey. I mean, the tires seem to be working well. They're running a really hard pace. A little bit cooler here today than yesterday. That may be helping, but I think more so the adjustments that Continental came out with last night for these teams to really run here today.
After some tire problems yesterday, that's a good point, Calvin. They came up with suggestions. No more than 2.5 degrees negative camber, because they were blistering on the inside for the excessive camber that the teams are trying to put on the chassis setup. Also, 30 pounds PSI at its lowest pressure. They wanted to try to do that. But most importantly, they suggested to take the sticker tires and to scuff them. What that does, the chemical compound inside the tire takes over and it hardens the tire up. It also makes it more resilient to heat, and heat has been the factor here.
You can think of many analogies to use, whether it be with football teams, baseball, basketball teams. When a key player switches to a new team, what's it like when they go back and have to compete against their old team? Well, that's the scenario here for Andrew Davis in that 59 car. He used to drive. He had the drive in this 57 before switching 18 months ago to the famous 59 for Brumos. It was a successful switch because he won the championship in his very first year. He's still very, very close to a lot of the Stevenson guys up ahead in that 57 unit. But Cal, it must be a weird sensation when you see it and you think, that used to be my family.
It really is. It's a very weird dynamic when you're suddenly out there competing against the car that you used to drive, but you know the team well. You may know their strengths, but you may know their weaknesses. You're going to try and work on those. You may know the co-driver that you were originally with, so he will know Robin Liddell very well. He will know where he's quick around the racetrack. He will know maybe where he has a vulnerability that he can take advantage of.
Or maybe you owe him one.
Talk about the damage to that Ferrari. Here's the onboard. Maybe that is creating this vibration that we're seeing through the onboard camera and the bodywork on the front end doors.
I'm sure it is. There's no doubt. I mean, that aero at 150 miles an hour, and these are all carbon fiber cars. Once you break the carbon fiber piece, it's not as strong as it once was, and that's what you're seeing right now is the vibration off that right front fender as it was torn sideways through that vent hole at the top.
From the Ferrari to a BMW, and this is one of the most celebrated sports car drivers in America, Bill Auberlen in the 94. Today's a pretty special day for Billy. It's this number doesn't really mean anything. Today is his 456th pro race, but today is race number 300 in a BMW. He is synonymous with this brand.
That's a really cool number. I mean, Billy just continues to be at the top of his game. He's still winning races, as we know. You know, they won at Mid-Ohio, and this car, as you said, Lee, has been very, very consistent. They're in the thick of the game. They had a test here a few weeks ago in both the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge cars and this GT machine. Did a tire test one day, did some development the next, and I think it's really turned the tide in terms of their speed and obviously worked well when you come back here to race.
31 is in.
That's not good. They're underneath the hood. This is Eric Kern behind the wheel presently. Boris said, of course, his teammate. They're looking up at the dash area from the backside, the firewall area. I don't know what that's about.
We will find out what the deal is there with the Marsh Racing wheel and Corvette, because they have been running strong today. Meanwhile, Richard Westbrook behind the wheel. He's 7th, working on making ground on Ricky Taylor. We'll be back. When we went to the break, this car was on pit lane. Why so? How so, Jamie Howe?
Well, I just checked in with Boris Said, one of the drivers of that number 31 Corvette, and he said they're having major fuel issue problems right now. It's in the fuel pump. They're thinking, the car thinks that they're out of fuel, but they're actually not. So they brought him to pit lane, made a vent adjustment on it, but it still isn't quite right.
Electronics. You laugh about it, but I mean, these cars nowadays are totally 100% electronically run through the electronic control unit. Everything feeds through there, and when something starts going amiss, it's just something else.
Seen some damage to the front grille there. I'm sure if they took a ride off the road, but that could be affecting things too in terms of the temperatures seen. This
is not the first time this car has had fuel pump issues. That happened to them at Mid-Ohio as well. So in addition to their seatbelt issues that they had happen at Detroit. First is Matt Bell. Second is Jonathan Bomarito, and he has brought that lead down massively from 9 seconds to 2 seconds. Here comes this Speed Source RX-8. I bet you Sylvain Tremblay's happy.
Sil is very happy indeed. And Sylvain, we were just talking, a lot of people look at the Camaro as being strong here because it's got that big V8 that pulls it up the hills. That's not true for that rotary, but you guys always seem to run here well here. Why is that?
I think just rolling speed through the corner. You know, we focus real hard trying to get the car to roll through the corner. Our Castrol Moss Pace RX-8 is doing that today. It's rolling real well through the corners.
One of the other big topics this weekend has been this North American Endurance Championship. You guys did not score good points back at Daytona. So are you focused on the 3-hour mark or the 6-hour mark?
The 6-hour mark. We're trying to win this race. So that's what we're trying to do. So hopefully we'll get it home, and I can say hi to Nicole at home from the podium.
Looking for a win here at Watkins Glen.
Yeah. Remember that championship within a championship, the North American Endurance Championship. And we need to update you on something that's just happened in Daytona Prototypes. There's been a thrilling battle going on between Ricky Taylor and Terry Borchella, and let's show you what just went down. Keep your eyes on the number 10 SunTrust machine.
Yeah, first time I saw that, I thought that was one car. They were just so married together. Go ahead, Cal.
Down into turn 1 there, where we saw Max Angelelli make a couple of moves on the same car earlier in this race. That was a lot cleaner move, just ducked out early in the slipstream and immediately gapped him. So you can see that Ricky Taylor was probably being very careful there in terms of making that pass, because he has a much faster race car, it looks like.
Yeah, I'd say he does. Look at the gap already he's been able to obtain.
And for these guys, the 10, the SunTrust car, they're playing catch-up in the North American Endurance Championship. $100,000 on the line to win it. They didn't even do half an hour at the Rolex 24 at Daytona earlier in the year. So they did get some points. Lower down in the lower positions, you do get allocated some points, not many, but they're down on the leaders. So today could be an important day, and in 26 minutes time, points will be allocated.
That's the big factor. Remember, they pitted a lap later than Scott Pruitt and the number 8 car, the Ryan Dial car. So they have a little bit of an advantage on fuel there, and that could be significant because everyone's going to be really tight to that 3-hour mark, needing to pit right before it. So if you can stay out, I think the 90 car's in pretty good shape that way as well, but right now they run behind the 10 car, so that could be a big bonus points there in the North American Endurance Championship. You mentioned it, Lee, they went out early, but they scored 8 points that day. The leader only has 16, and you can get 10 points back at the halfway point.
This is for the lead of GT. Matt Bell coming under increasing pressure from Jonathan Bomarito, and he's made an error. Mid-corner there, just a little bobble, and Bomarito is on the spot to pounce.
Yeah, and he's looking really strong. I mean, that Mazda is hooked up. You can see there, he just tighten his hands up there, Dorsey, still get the power down, and that's really the mark. What you're doing with the steering wheel and what you're doing with the throttle at the same time, if you can get down on the gas pedal with your hands tight, that means that you've still got grip in those tires.
Yeah, and for Matt Bell, the wiggle that started that whole thing shows that he doesn't have that same sort of grip.
And I'm wondering if Matt Bell is running into some tire issues or something is going away on that car, because the last time around, Matt Bell was in the 53s, Jonathan Bomarito was in the 51s. So it's power and advantage to the Mazda, not so with the Camaro. Tell us more, Brian.
When I talked to Sylvain Tremblay earlier about the 70, he reminded me that Mazda is light, smaller tires. They have not had to compromise setup at all for tire wear. They saw a little tire wear on the front that they didn't quite like. They said, we're not going to bother with it. It'll be fine for the stints that we're doing on fuel. So they've not had to compromise. That may be what you see right now.
It's kind of funny. I talked with Sil right before the race qualifying the other day, and I said, what do you have to do to this car to make it ready for a 6-hour over a regular sprint race? He goes, you know what? Nothing. He goes, the car is light enough. We don't have to do a different brake package. We don't have to do anything to it.
Well, they've been driving this car and competing with this car for so long, they've really made it bulletproof. I mean, it's won the 24-hour race a couple of times, and they know what makes this Mazda tick. They don't really try and tune it up for the sprint race. They just run the same package, it seems.
Speaking of GT, Jamie, tell us about a special day for one of its drivers.
Well, Joe Nunemaker, the Papa Joe, they call him, down at Team Sahlen Racing. It is his 63rd birthday, so the team has surprised him today. They got him a nice little birthday cake here on pit lane. Just got out of the car, so he's cooling off, and then he's going to enjoy it. So happy birthday to Papa Joe.
Hey, Jamie, when you cut into that, do you find a Sahlen sausage or what?
I was going there, too. I can't believe you said that. Look at the crowd, guys. Good, a lot of campers here this weekend. Most I've seen in a long time for this race.
Managing Director of Competition, Mark Raffoff, said yesterday it's the best crowd that he's seen here in some 10 years.
Yeah, it is. I agree. You know, when I came through, as you see Michael Waltrip's Ferrari now on pit lane.
So that's Rob Kaufman done. Rui Aguas lining up for his second stint of the day.
Pretty leisurely walk out to the car, just take it easy. I know he's going to take a while to get out, and then I'll get in. I like it.
Yes, I'm no big
Why twist an ankle?
Yeah.
That's totally unlike the other guys we saw. We get chucked out onto the road.
So as these boys, in a very casual fashion, finish their stop, so long as you can beat the fuel, there's no real rush. There we go. Not too far off from achieving that. Remember, there were some pretty scary scenes for the AF Waltrip Ferrari at the 24 Hours of Le Mans this year, with Brian Vickers, NASCAR Sprint Cup star, behind the wheel. Have a look at this. We'll remind you if you didn't see it. Here he is, Brian, in his very first appearance at Le Mans, did not want to see this.
No, he had a flat tire and he didn't have a choice. Le Mans 8 miles long. He had to drive on it, and guess what? It got pretty hot.
It really did, and lucky that he was able to get out. They brought it all the way back to pit lane, and then the fire marshals were there. But a very impressive run for Brian Vickers there. He really enjoyed the experience, and he had a great run at Sonoma on the road course with the NASCAR just a couple of weeks ago.
And we should stress this is not the same car. This is the Ferrari 458 Italia built to Grand Am specifications, not the Le Mans spec car. And it's Rui Agua and Rob Kaufman, the combination this year. Let's look a little bit deeper in that GT field. We've brought you all the way up to Andrew Davis in 6th. Jeff Siegel is 7th. Ryan Eversley is running in the Horton Autosport car, the 73. He's in 8th place. 9th is Brian Sellers. And Mark Basseng in that 52 Audi R8 is inside the top 10. You got a feeling that's all going to change quite a bit over the time. This is Ryan Eversley, who got this drive through a long-time friendship with Eric Foss, who was one of his driving instructors way back in the day. And Ryan is one of the ambassadors for Racing for Research, a program developed by the Children's Tumor Foundation. You may remember Ryan Newman had a car, one of his Sprint Cup cars, in this livery. Also, Speed's own Justin Bell is an ambassador. They use professional auto racing as a vehicle to increase awareness of neurofibromatosis and raise funds for research and corporate sponsorship. It's a really worthy cause. Ryan's pumped to be in the Rolex Series in the Sahlen 6 Hours of Glen. He's a regular competitor in the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge. So enjoy it, mate. Enjoy your Rolex drive and go well.
This is a great trio of drivers. 3 really young, hot drivers. They're all capable, of getting the job done. They're very excited. They just got the 4-liter Porsche motor introduced to that car this weekend. Had to skip a practice session on Friday to get that motor changed, but they got the best power available now from Porsche.
Running well and running hard. It's a new team to Grand Am this year. We're really pleased to have them here, and they've notched up some good runs so far. Meanwhile, up front, there's only 1 second between first and second. Pruitt over Dial. We'll show you more DP when we come back.
Yeah, and they've been very successful over there, run competitive cars every week. And here we're looking at the North American Endurance Championship points as of now. So they haven't changed since we started this race, but in about 15, 16 minutes, they certainly will. But you can see there, MSR Mike Shank Racing lead after their dominant win there at the 24 Hours of Daytona. Starworks only 2 points back, and the leaders of this race, Chip Ganassi Racing 3 points shy. If they can keep out, this is going to be the critical factor right now. We're anticipating that the lead DP cars will need to pit right before that 3-hour mark, and that's going to shuffle everyone around and have a really big effect on what points are scored.
So we switch gears to GT. Now coming into this, Magnus Racing led the way, Dorse, by just a solitary point over the car that we're looking at, the 59 Brumos Porsche, and then TRG. All of these, of course, based off the Rolex 24 at Daytona. Well, if you've been watching the broadcast, massive dramas for that Magnus Racing team, and it goes all the way back to a week ago at Road America right through to today.
This is a blown engine. Andy Lally braking for Canada corner and erupts the engine off the tailpipe. That is a DNF for them. And of course, here at Watkins Glen, a very scary moment. Look at the smoke coming from there. This is John Potter going through this downhill, and he's on fire, guys. This is a scary situation as the dashboard is fully engulfed underneath. Not sure that John knew how bad this was about to get, as it's in infancy right now. Watch when he slows up. And he's got to find a way out and out quick.
And what he did there is he avoided going down into the boot, which was the long way back to pit lane, turned immediately right on the short course where the NASCAR Sprint Cup cars run, and said, I'm out of here.
I'd have been reaching for the fire bottle. Maybe he did, I don't know. But that's an interior fire that's very rare. You don't see it very often, and that's a good news.
Typically, as a car owner, you're going to go for the fire bottle first.
Yeah, I would. That's what I'm talking about. Watch, I mean, it doesn't take long. Once carbon fiber is caught and going, it really gets going, as you can tell. So that's a bad deal.
And this is going to have an effect, obviously, on the North American Endurance Championship points. I mean, they've been here today. They'll score 8 points here today for competing, but they're going to lose a bunch to the leaders of this race.
We invite you to join the conversation and to tweet us, #GAOnSpeed. And Andy Lally is a regular on Twitter. Look at what Andy, who's one of the drivers of that car, tweeted. Wow. The aftermath from the fire. That's a very sad scene for a beautiful race car for the Magnus Racing 44 boys. Hey, someone else who's pretty happy to be here today is PT. Paul Tracy's back in the field. Jamie?
Well, Paul Tracy has yet to get behind the wheel of the car, waiting for your first stint. What are you hoping to accomplish here this weekend?
Well, right now Jim's doing a good job in the car. He just turned his best lap of the weekend, and he said the car is good. But we lost a lap during the driver exchange on a green flag stop, so we're right now just kind of running against the clock, hoping we can get a yellow or a full course where we can get back in the mix. But Jim's doing a good job. Brian did a good job at the beginning of the race, and right now we're just kind of stuck a lap down and kind of riding against the clock.
We also know you'll be in the car at Indy. What other plans do you have?
Well, we'll test next week at Indy, which will be great for myself and Jim to get some laps there, and then get ready for the race at Indianapolis, which is going to be a great event for everybody.
We're certainly looking forward to it. Thank you.
There he is, the man who's one of the most popular drivers in North America, and of course made famous through the Kart World Series, Champ Car World Series. He was the 2003 titleist in the Champ Car World Series, and it's great to have a driver the caliber and character of Paul Tracy here in the Rolex Series.
Yeah, it really is, and some people believe that Paul has won there at the Speedway. Remember that controversial finish there when Helio Castroneves got the win, but some people said that Paul had passed him before the yellow came out. Either way, Helio got another win, and Paul has yet to officially win at Indy.
Look at this. We're riding with Richard Westbrook. Aggressive, decisive, and very, very fast. And he's trying to make inroads on Terry Borchella. It's Corvette versus Corvette here. Just different teams. Action Express versus Spirit of Daytona. And Oz Negri is behind the wheel of the 60. They've done good work there. Remember, John Pugh was involved in that spin. They were able to get themselves back on the lead lap by staying out during one of those cautions and keep that car, that live on number 60, the leader of the North American Endurance Championship in Daytona Prototypes, on the lead lap and keep it in the mix. We've got 11 minutes to go to halfway until those next round of points are awarded.
And that's the key. When you have a problem like they had with John Pugh, he finally got fired up. Rather than just bringing them in the pit lane, think of the big picture. Okay, stay out, John. Catch up to the pack. When the leaders pit, we'll get back on that lead lap. We still have a fast car. There was no damage to that car with the quick spin that he took at the inner loop, and that's why they're back in the game. But Westy's looking really quick here. Remember, this is a man that has visited victory lane twice this year already.
You are talking about the fight here for 6th spot. Borchella holds it down. There's GT traffic up ahead. Here they come. Trying to weave through here. It's Martin Ragginger up ahead in the Formetics Porsche.
Good patience by Terry there. I mean, that was really a roadblock for him, but he just waited it out. Westy didn't get too aggressive either, Dorsey. They're both thinking about we're only halfway through this race, so let's not make any rash moves.
Yeah, that was heads-up driving right there.
Oh, here comes Oz.
Hello.
Speaking of rash moves.
Hello.
But watch this. Westy up the inside on the S's, maybe?
No.
Thinks better of it.
This is one of the most spectacular scenes on this track. Climbing the S's.
Then we're going to see the Chevy versus Ford. That Ford was given 300 RPM prior to Road America. Will certainly have an effect on these long straightaways, and also the gearing aspect, Dorsey, that allows them to be up on the pipe when they come through the corners.
Yeah, 300 RPM is like a gear change. If you had a headwind or whatever, that 300 RPM is just like going down a gear.
Speaking of the wind, it's picked up incredibly so here at Watkins Glen. Our GT leader's in. What have you seen so far, Bri?
Well, it's a routine stop. It is a driver change. Sylvain Chevrolet will take back over. You guys were talking about the wind. I asked Sylvain about it earlier. He said we probably should have changed gears, but we didn't. We still have a car.
There we go. The very familiar Castrol number 70. Serviced and sent. The boys have been working very hard here today. We're only halfway through though. Back live and 5.5 minutes away from halfway, where points for the North American Endurance Championship are awarded. The Spirit of Daytona prototype has been taken out of the mix. Richard Westbrook has just jumped from the car. Antonio Garcia has climbed back aboard. Damage to the rear left. How did it happen when he was very much in the mix of things? Take a look at this. During that last commercial break, up ahead is Oz Negri. He gets by Jeff Siegel in the Ferrari. It's not Jeff Siegel, I take it back, it's the AF Waltrip car.
They've been in the wars a little bit today with these DP cars, and there you see Westy gets clipped, cuts down that left tire. And remember, this is a similar scenario to what happened to Antonio Garcia when he was leading at Road America just last week, and it was a long lap back to the pit lane. We see the carcass of the tire finally dispatch itself from the race car. But look at this, we're looking for a yellow for some of the leaders. The tire goes all the way to the side of the road.
Now the 60 has pitted, and there's a good reason why, because Oz Negri was just involved in an incident with Terry Borcello, we understand, at the inner loop. It is all just broken out here. It's all happening. There's Borcello, there's the 60. What goes on? Oz goes side by side with Borcello. 2 through the inner loop don't work.
Wow, that's pretty aggressive driving by both of those guys. I mean, we talked about patience and thinking about that 3-hour mark and getting to that in good shape. Remember, these are the guys who are leading that North American Endurance Championship. Surprised they'd get that racy at that point. Neither one wanted to give it up.
Now, they bumped at least 3 times. Take a look at the 90-wheel Richard Westbrook. That's from the Ferrari contact, just completely wrinkled that outer area, blowing the tire off.
4 minutes to go to get to that 3-hour mark where the points will be awarded, and we understand that the DPs are almost on fumes. We see the 8 car, they blink, they have to come into pit lane for fuel. Can Pruitt hold on? I think he's going to be a little bit shy as well.
And again, the points are awarded at that 3-hour mark. It's not at the start-finish line at the 3-hour mark. It's once that clock hits halfway. Brian?
10 just hit pit road, and I talked to Peter Barron on the 8 earlier. He said, no, unfortunately, we're just not going to make it. Well, guess what? I'm not sure anybody else is either, because the 0-1 is set up. Timmy Keene said it's going to be real close, within a half a lap. Well, here's the deal. You can't make it to the 3-hour mark and win that race, but run out of fuel on the racetrack. So if they're not going to make it all the way around, they may have to stop before the 3-hour mark as well.
Well, the 2 cars that may have made it, they had an extra lap to go with the 10 and the 90. We saw the 90 problems. They had to come in. The 10 wasn't getting good fuel mileage, so the 01 will be the last of these DP leaders to pit, but they should leapfrog back to the front.
Engine off, Ricky.
Problem here for the 10.
What's going on?
Hey, just sit tight, Ricky. We've identified the problem.
That's the voice of Simon Hodgson, team manager at Wayne Taylor's SunTrust Racing team.
Maybe they weren't out of fuel, because we thought they should be able to go another lap or 2. Maybe it was an issue with the car that brought them to pit lane.
Issue with the right rear low wishbone, Ricky. Just hold tight.
Oh, he's got a wishbone problem, a suspension problem on the right rear.
It's the left side of the car that got hit a little bit down in turn 1, so this shouldn't be because of that contact that was made earlier in the race with Angelelli and Donahue.
Don't know what that's about, but it's definitely right rear wishbone.
We have had a radio transmission that the 01 has hit reserve fuel. The Ganassi car, the race-leading car of Scott Pruitt, on reserve fuel. And 2 minutes to go to halfway.
But the key is he should still keep the lead. As long as his in-lap is good, he should maintain the lead over the number 8 car. So Pruitt needs a good lap here. Even if he needs to pit before the 3-hour mark, he should be able to get back out on track and maintain the lead of this race.
Heard that a lap ago, Ricky Taylor missed the bus stop right here, the inner loop. That probably means that whatever broke on that upright broke right there, and he wasn't able to turn in. That's just speculation. We know there's a suspension problem.
Look at this, Oz Negri, excuse me, John Pugh now behind the wheel, trying to hang on, stay on that lead lap. He'll be told that the 01 should be pitting.
Pugh is the last car on the lead lap at the moment. Whoa. I think John Pugh's gone, has he? Has he run on? Oh, good recovery there.
Yeah, Pruitt just forced the issue there, and he's been told to go. He's got to hustle here. They need to make the pit stop and make it a good one, but Pruitt needs a good in-lap. He couldn't afford to get held up with traffic there and lose a couple of seconds, because remember, Ryan Dial wasn't that far behind him when he made his pit stop, so if Pruitt lost 3 or 4 seconds, he would be losing the lead of this race potentially. So now it's all down to the Ganassi boys, and they're going to have to pit right before that 3-hour mark. The key is, where will they be when that 3-hour mark hits? They should be right in the middle of this pit stop.
19 seconds ahead of Darren Law.
Focus on hit your marks, Scott. We need a good stop.
Team manager Tim Keene, focus on your marks. We need a good stop. Here is the 8 of Ryan Dial. He's some 51 seconds behind Pruitt in 4th place. Brian?
It's going to be a driver change as well. They need to keep the strategy in place so that they can win this thing overall, but they also want to be ahead at the 3-hour mark. It's a full stop, tires, fuel, and a driver change. Remember, Scott Pruitt was going to double in single stints each for Memo and Scott. That's exactly the strategy they've stayed with. Memo Rojas going back in the car right now. Service going on. They've got to get this done. 59 GT hits pit road, and they're waiting for fuel. 3-hour mark just...
And then that 3-hour mark just passed. The 9 of Darren Law inherited the race lead.
Wow.
How about that for Action Express?
Wow.
Right to the seconds.
Snuck under the radar there. Brilliant job by that team in terms of getting good fuel mileage with a fast race car. That is huge.
Nice bonus, nice work. You can't win the North American Endurance Championship here today, but you can do a lot about it. And we are being told that the 9 is on reserve fuel, so they've just snuck it in.
That could be a $100,000 gamble, boys, right there.
That is a great job by Ian Watt and the team there to really work that number and just get that extra lap. I thought Pruitt was going to be great, but the 9 car suddenly leapfrogged around everyone by that extra lap.
Gotta get out of this valley, though. You know, now he's on reserve and he's climbing the uphill part of the section, headed back toward pit lane.
Joao Barbosa started the race in this 9. Very, very solid opening stint, and stints plural, before handing over to Darren Law. And they crossed the 3-hour mark in front in DP. In GT, we will confirm for you, but it looks like it has been the number 70 Speed Source Mazda of Sylvain Tremblay. 100,000 up for grabs to win the NAEC at Indianapolis for Daytona Prototypes. 50 up for grabs for these guys for the GT class. A lot of money on the line.
There really is, and the sad news for the SunTrust team is that the 10 car continues to be stationary on pit lane with work going on the right rear suspension.
Well, the 9 made it. You guys were wondering, on reserve is what you heard, but he's made it all the way back around. That was brilliant strategy or a very risky gamble, however you want to look at it. But 9 is back. They'll get points in the North American Endurance Championship. And who knows if they can continue with this good strategy and good pace, they may just win this race.
Little gray box sitting there on the ground, guys. There's another cool suit. It's full of ice, and they're switching out that cool suit so the drivers have a little air-conditioned or water-cooled suit that they wear, and that houses ice in that bucket.
These guys are having a brilliant run here. The car's been fast, it's been good on tires. It's also good on fuel.
Yeah, sure
absolutely, evidently. And there's quite a sad sight in the background. The SunTrust number 10, the Corvette, sitting stationary while they attend to those suspension problems in the right rear.
Wow, this has got to be a bitter pill for Wayne Taylor. They had a fast race car there, had a little bit of damage, made the right call. Let's get it fixed early, stayed on the lead lap, had fast car. Angelelli had the fastest lap of the race, which continues to be the fast lap at 1:42.7, but bad day, 4th race in a row.
To pit lane now, and an update from Action Express. Here's Brian.
Gary Nelson, you guys out in front at the 3-hour mark. Was that brilliant strategy or a huge gamble?
I'd like to take credit for being brilliant. We planned it from earlier this week. We talked a lot about it, and we said, you know, depends on how the race falls, but we started saving fuel way back to do that, and we were able to run one more lap to Pruitt, and that got it. So we're happy.
Remember, it's a race within a race, and there's $100,000 on the line after Indianapolis, Lee.
Imagine that, if that one lap is the difference come the end of the North American Endurance Championship.
Scary part is how fast can this car be if they're running full rich? I mean, Barbosa and the Law were doing a brilliant job right on the lead group and saving fuel.
Very good point.
Well done.
Scary.
Well done to Gary Nelson, to Elton Sawyer, to Ian Watt, to all the boys at Action Express Racing. We're going to talk lots more about that as Antonio Garcia, he's still on the lead lap, but he's got a lot of catch-up work to do, and we've still got another 2 hours 55 to go.